Bernhardt.
Wow. And he's on fire.
Wow. This is scary business. When a guy that fast, a guy who's just played in the NFL, is staring you down. See you later. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to episode 22 of the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show, presented by Duke Cannon on the Lacrosse Network. If you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on podcast, this is going to be the best morning of your entire life because we're hopping right into it from wins of this past weekend down in Baltimore. Hoagie, what's the biggest win of this past weekend? And we're going to dive right into the heat.
Yeah, my biggest win from this weekend is the Maryland Whipsnakes on their homecoming weekend. Yeah, they went 1-1, but it's the big picture for me on why it was such a big weekend for them. Look, for me, the lineup the last couple of weeks, they've been dead in the water, right? They've been shuffling. Matt Rambo, 𝐓𝐇𝐄, guys have been in and out of the lineups, trying to figure out kind of who is going to be their starting lineup moving forward. This weekend, it finally seemed like it somewhat clicked. The offense looked great. 𝐓𝐇𝐄 starting on an attack. He was an offensive explosion down there. He had 7 points Sunday against the Chaos. But to me, the biggest thing is they head into the All-Star break. They don't play next weekend in California during the Redwoods homecoming. So they're off till Chicago in about 3 weeks. They're off for 20 days. They're sitting at second place in the East right now with the best goal differential in the league at +12. They're 2-3 overall. And honestly, I think if you asked people a week ago, they'd say they're a bottom team in the league. But look at where they're sitting. They're sitting pretty, heading into the rest, heading into the break. You know Stagnita is one of the best coaches in the game. You know the Whips get hot as the season rolls on. And the fact that they're where they are right now, based on how everything's kind of started, oof, watch out. And they have 2 one-goal losses, too. 1 goal loss week 1 to the Archers, 1 goal loss Saturday to the Cannons, 2 of the top teams in the league there. Watch out for the Whips moving forward. They're my biggest winner this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I'll kind of back that up. I'm on the Whips, too. I think we chat a lot about the Atlas, obviously on the East, on the West. We talk about your Woods, Hoagie, with championship contenders. Obviously, the Whips haven't had the best start, and I feel like from a roster standpoint, there's nothing that really jumps off of paper. Obviously, we had TJ Malone on, great outstanding player. That jumps off the page. But obviously, Matt Rambo hasn't really been putting the ball in the back of the net this year. But I think from an aspect of the roster, right, I was looking at the PLL stats. We have TJ Malone that leads the points. We have 𝐓𝐇𝐄 leads 1 goal. We have Brad Smith with 2 pointers. And scoring points overall with TJ Malone, like, that's not even the Whipsnakes stats. That's league-wide, and the Whips have 3 different guys in 4 categories. I just think that shows that, like, the Whips have a proven roster, but they got to make some changes, and obviously we saw that this weekend.
Yeah, but there's also a ton of different pieces, too, when you look at it, right? When you think of the Whipsnakes over the years, the last couple of years, you think of Matt Rambo, you think of 𝐓𝐇𝐄, and 𝐓𝐇𝐄's been great the last 2 weeks since not being activated the first 2 weeks, but I mean, if you look at their scoring and their offensive output the last couple of weeks, I mean, Brad Smith didn't play last year, comes back from injury. He's been one of the best midfielders in the league, 2-way guy, 2-point threat, can play some defense. And then you look at the injecting the young blood, right? Like, TJ Malone has went from a stud last year, rookie of the year, to he, in my opinion, is a superstar face of the league, Mount Rushmore guy. This guy is a all-pro every year, MVP level player. And then look at the other guys, Levi Anderson. You know, you got Patra. You got 𝐓𝐇𝐄 this weekend stepping up big. Matt Brandow, who they traded for from the Philly Water Dogs. So, like, look at all the young guys making those strides offensively. Of their top 3 scorers Saturday and their top 3 scorers Sunday in both those games, their top 6 scorers from those 2 games, 5 of those guys were those guys named that I just named. The other one was Rob Pennell, obviously the veteran. But besides that, 5 of their top 6 scorers, if you look at the top 3 from both games, are injected young blood guys like I just mentioned. Levi Anderson had a huge game after being activated Sunday. So it's not just the Whips that we've seen the last couple of years that are stepping up. It's the new young blood that Stags is kind of bringing up in the ranks now, which is also big for me. And I think that's something huge moving forward for this season, but also building for the future.
And just to touch on that, too, the only consistent part of really this Whipsnakes team has been the defense. I mean, Colin Squires got there in 2021. Timmy Muller's been there since the inception. Matt Dunn been there since the inception. Then you got Ajax, who's been turning into one of the best defenders in the league. You know, I think he's top 3 in calls turnovers right now. And then Joe Nardella, for my money, he's the best faceoff guy in the league right now this year.
One thing I gotta say about the Whipsnakes and where they stand in the league, I know we're all saying they're second, either overall or in the conference. I'm not buying that. I don't understand why we count it like that. They're 2-3, but they're ranked above teams that are 2-2 or 2-1 in the case of the Redwoods. If you look at the overall standings, I talked to Joe Keegs about it, and he tried to explain it to me. Everyone plays 10 games at the end, so it all, you're just counting by wins and then goal differential. I'm sorry. I'm not saying they're the second best team in the league or the first best team in the league because they beat the Chaos by 14. Yes, they had the biggest win literally in program history. I think biggest margin of defeat in PLL history. So I'll give them that. They had the biggest win this weekend. But I don't know if I'm overall buying everything you guys are saying because they still have those 3 losses.
But I don't even know if the biggest
I don't want my name on that. I don't want my name on that either. I did not say that.
I don't even know if the biggest win, though, is even the Whipsnakes moving forward. It's more the goal differential win. How big that win was against the Chaos might be one of the biggest wins of the season when we look back on it at the end of the year in terms of playoff positioning in the East, where we see it's going to be tight most likely with them. The Atlas, the Water Dogs went from first to last in 1 week. So the goal differential, to have that big of a goal differential of plus 12 right now, obviously it could shift if they got blown out or something happened down the line. But a lot of the teams are either the negatives or the 1, 2, 3. 12 plus 12 is huge, and we've shown in this league with playoff format, with seeding, with everything, how big that is. That might be the most underrated and biggest thing of the whole weekend, not even looking at how hot, Aiden Carroll was starting an attack, not even looking at the young guys stepping up, not even looking at the trajectory of them moving forward. The goal differential, to me, is probably maybe the biggest thing that we saw this weekend.
And probably the Chaos are negative 19, so I think everyone's going to get their chance.
And also the most Blaze is in net. I don't know how many games you're gonna get where Blaze plays like that.
Dude, you're right. They're not gonna get many 20%.
And I don't know how many times
Emmett
Carroll ever outplays Blaze Reardon. I mean, we can also pump our brakes and that's consistently going to be the future of the Whipsnakes as well. I'm not so sure they have their whole goalie situation figured out.
Did
Emmett Carroll play well? Yeah. Does he deserve a slap on the ass? Yeah. He deserves mega credit. Probably for my money, and I know Liam Entenmann played this weekend, probably the best goaltending performance overall, just for giving the rookie, shaky goalie situation really stepped up. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, he's going to go 70% every game this year. So the goal differential we're talking about, I don't know what the Whipsticks is going to look at the end of the year. So
but
again,
I don't see the Whips getting blown out that much, though, to make it that Chaos game was such an utter disaster. I think the Chaos are going to sneak a couple wins out just because that's always happens in this league. But I don't see the Chaos getting embarrassed to that level again, is more my point. I think
is we're going to look scoring differential in the league inception.
I think ever. I believe it's the biggest ever.
I was going to say I don't remember a game like that.
I feel like there's been a couple.
Besides last year's Denver Atlas game that was 17-4 in Boston. What was this game? 20-6. That's 14 goals, 17-4, 13. Yeah, so I guess it beat it. But similar to that game last year.
So crazy. Kev, let's talk on your win from this weekend.
My biggest winner is Jared Bernhardt in the Outlaws offense. Jared Bernhardt absolutely exploded. Exactly what we waited for. That first game, he gave us the air gate attempt. Second game, he gets his first goal. Third game, he just blew up. 4 goals, an assist, 5 points, got to play some attack, and that's what I want to see more of. I really like the configuration with him at X, Pat Kav on the right side, and then take your pick, Logan Wisnauskas or Brennan O'Neill. I think Brennan O'Neill offers a little bit more coming through the box. I've said it, that he probably winds up playing midfield. I don't think it's going to be a full-time thing at midfield for him. I think Jared Bernhardt should still get some midfield reps as well. But clearly, he's most comfortable and most effective when he's taking runs at X. That backhand goal he had on an end-line restart where he just ran past Mason Woodward, that was elite speed. That is game-changing ability. And you look at this Outlaws offense, they couldn't get it together. Hadn't broken 10 points yet this season. They did get the win against the Water Dogs, but they only scored 9. And then this game, 10-5, time waning in the third quarter. They looked dead in the water. 8 straight goals. Jared Bernhardt sparked that, and I think his move to attack is a huge piece of it. So if I'm Sudan, I'm starting Bernhardt at X, Wisnauskas on the other side to maintain maybe that Maryland connection. Pat Kavanaugh on the other side, and I'm running Brennan O'Neill through the box.
Okay, Doogs, Hoagie, let's stick on that real quick. Do you agree with that potential starting lineup if Kev is Sudan?
I'm not. I guess I'll take it first. I'm not so sure if because again, going off what Kev said, his blazing speed, I also like a lot what I see out of the Bucks. I like giving defenses different looks, so I'm not like completely opposed. I'm just not going to look at the Denver Outlaws being like they have to do this to be successful. I think they can beat you a ton of different ways, and I think there's going to be a game where Bernhardt has 2 assists, kind of gets shut down, and Brendan O'Neal's the guy that goes for 8 points, and we're saying, well, he should be the starting attackman. So I think that the biggest takeaway for me. And the biggest winners this weekend, the biggest winners lacrosse fans getting Jared Bernhardt back into full part. Like this is great for the league. And 2, the biggest winners is the Denver Outlaws. Everyone's like, oh my God. Like Brendan O'Neal's like, if I have a bad game at Duke, we lose by 6. Like if I play like that, like we're knocked out at Hofstra against Maryland. Like now he's like, I got Jared Bernhardt to pick up the slack. So every Outlaw should be pumped right now.
Yeah, I thought what was amazing about that, really telling, was late in that game when they switched the matchup. And 𝐓𝐇𝐄, who had been shutting down Brendan O'Neal, switched to Jared Bernhardt. Jared Bernhardt beat him for a goal once, too. But it's also just like such a great thing where we saw what Brendan O'Neal can do against the Archers when he's not guarded by Graham 𝐓𝐇𝐄. For whatever reason, Graham 𝐓𝐇𝐄 is a really good matchup against him. It opens things up for the other players, as Doogs mentions.
And I think that for Brendan, with the way that he played really quick, the last thing I want to point on is like, last year is where he had his coming out party in the 4th quarter against the Archers, and I felt like some of the shots and possessions that he had, he kind of was forcing things that you can't really do against Dobson. And you got the best defender, in my opinion, in the league, and Graham 𝐓𝐇𝐄 all over you. He fits that like physical defender in your face. And again, the 4th quarter blowout game he had last year, I'm pretty sure 𝐓𝐶𝐄 like might have been sitting out, or maybe the first game coming back from injury or something. So
he wasn't there yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, Jared Bernhardt, to me, has got to be that attack, Mitch, kind of going back to the point from before. I'd say, of all the guys, Mitch, that we played in college, we played a ton of great players. I'd probably say Jared Bernhardt was the best guy that we played against in our 4 years at Ohio State. Just watching him play was like an otherworldly, another level of how athletic he is and how, skilled he is as a player. So I think he's got to play attack. And I think, for Sudan and for the Outlaws, it was kind of, the first couple weeks of like mixing and matching. Okay, like how do we figure out, you have so many good players, so many good attackmen, like what's the perfect fit? Which one fits at which spot? So, I think Jared Bernhardt's finally coming to form. You mentioned that goal, Kev, right off the end line, right off the beginning of the game, in the first 32 seconds of that game, kind of coming and scoring that goal from Max out early in that game. And I think, if I'm Denver moving forward, I mean, Jared Bernhardt, you knew he was going to be a stud, right? And I know we heard reports that he was training, lacrosse on the offseason, all that stuff, but he was always going to have some rust on him. You don't just not play lacrosse for 2-3 years and show up and be a stud right away. It's going to take some time, some live reps. So, the Outlaws got a all-pro MVP level player out of this in week 2 that they didn't even know they were going to have during training camp, which is crazy. But I think, too, another underrated guy for the Outlaws, Pat Kav, the last 2 weeks has been great for them. He had another 4 points this weekend. He's been a great, party starter for them at times when they've needed it as well. I mean, he was great in Philly in that game against the Water Dogs. That was kind of his best game maybe of his pro career. And then, this weekend again, another 4 points to complement 5 that Bernhardt had. So the Outlaws are legit moving forward. They got the Redwoods this weekend, which is going to be an awesome game out in California. Great West Coast game. But, the Redwoods or the Outlaws have 2 legit wins too. Like, let's not forget, like they beat the Water Dogs and the Archers. They don't have like a 10-point chaos win. Like they got 2 legit wins. They're starting to hit their stride. They're going to be really fun watching moving forward.
Them boys coming. They're coming. I mean, you talk about Pat Kav. You talk about Pat Kav, too. I want to hit on that, too, because he's been a party starter. And in the PLL stats as well, he has the most touches in the league at 186. So it just shows, get the ball to him, start the party, doesn't have to finish, doesn't have to start, or it should start with him, but he might not be the guy making the assist or putting the ball in the back of the net. But I think get it with him, good things start. But keep going.
Yeah, I think that, okay, I won't go.
Yeah,
you go.
I was going to ask 𝐓𝐇𝐄 what the biggest difference is between the Outlaws 0-2 start and their 2-0.
Talk to him, Kev.
The biggest difference for them, too, I'd say besides, it's the goaltending position, first off, obviously in net. McNaney's been awesome the last 2 weeks, high percentage saves. I think the biggest thing that I like about McNaney, I mean, Joe Keek said it, he's got the highest percentage of clean, I think it's clean shot or clean save percentage, but then also he makes those saves that he doesn't have the free ones, right? So he makes every clean save that he's supposed to, but then also steals a couple that he's not supposed to, and then it's like, wow, that's why he's high 60s. Goaltending position has been great. So on top of Bernhardt coming into form, on top of the other attack guys, really starting to figure it out. Pat having a great last 2 weeks. Wisnauskas was great again. The goaltending position, Kev, you're right. He was unbelievable. McNaney's been unbelievable. You knew he was going to be great once he got in there. So, obviously he's got that job locked down. He's solidified that for the future. That's why they drafted him, and that's why he was started in the national championship game every single year that he started in Maryland, which is crazy. So he's an All-American for a reason. He's a stud. And I don't know if he's one of those goalies moving forward that we say, jumps off the page as like a Dauber or a Blaze or an Entenmann, but he's steady Eddie. He makes the saves he's supposed to,
Eddie.
and then he steals one or two that he's not supposed to, and then you look at his stats, you're like, this guy's unbelievable.
Bang.
That's just kind of how he plays.
He's a top 8 goalie in the league for sure.
There's Doogs with the top 8 goalie.
Doogs, where are you putting him right now?
I got him at 5.
Right off the top of my head, I can't even think right now. I say 6.
I got him at 5.
I can't. I'd have to. I can't even tell you 1 through 5 right now.
I'm going.
He couldn't crack the top 4 for me.
I'm going Blaze
He
1.
could not
5
crack
is
the
the
top.
highest.
Dauber
5's
2,
the highest he could be.
Entenmann 3, Kirst 4, Logan 5 right now.
Um,
That would be my top
That's
5.
pretty good. Well, Dukes, keep it going, though. You're winner of this past weekend.
I do want to touch on one thing, though. When we're talking about McNaney, one thing I was thinking about over the weekend was how much of it must be so beneficial to be able to play with your defensive coordinator in college above you. Like, the relationship that you can have. It's not just some other vet that you, don't really want to, you feel comfortable talking back to, being like, no, you're actually wrong. I bet you Logan has no problem being like, no, Jesse, this is what we should do. Or, it's a different type of relationship between them. It's probably a little bit of a player-coach I bet you Jesse's more of a player coach than a Tillman Hart-ass with the iPad.
Yeah.
And then
no. I kind of want to second off that before you go to your next point. Obviously, Hoagie and I played. For me, being an offensive guy, a little bit different than Hoagie being a Fogo. Our offensive coordinator was our head coach, so it was a little bit different. But I was always a little bit more jealous when the defensive guys had their own DC. I felt like that relationship was way more tight bond. So, Dukes, I think that's a great point with what Logan had with Jesse at Maryland. That is a relationship that has been bonded since 2019. The fact that he essentially started every year and to now go into the league and play next to a guy you've chatted with every single day for the past 5 years, that's something special.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. And then when we're talking about Pat Kav, I think when you look at the Outlaws, and I cannot wait to talk about a Kavanaugh again, all the college sickos fuck, thought this shit was going to be over. Nope. I think he's been by far the most consistent Outlaw. And you'll even look at the first 2 weeks. You might just look at the stats and be like, 4-4 in the last 2 weeks is really his coming out party. The amount of dropped assist opportunities when you're watching the games, you'd be mind blown. And Dan Arestia, shout out Dan Arestia, he found at June 16th, I'm pretty sure this is 2 or 3 weeks into the season, Pat Kavanagh has been unlucky in the assist category. He has 11 assist opportunities, but just 1 assist. 9 players in the PLL have double-digit assist opportunities, converting them 35% of the time. If his assist opportunities converted at that rate, Kavanagh would be tied 3rd in the league in assists. And going back to what he's been able to do in one game early, this in the Philly weekend, he had 3-1, 3 goals, 1 assist. This weekend he had 1 goal, 3 assists. So he's been able to get it done different ways. So I think Pat Kavanagh has very much impressed me and shown that he should have always been at attack at his natural position. He just looks so much more comfortable than
you can
did
feel
with
the juice though, Dukes, with him.
He has the passion,
especially
he
in
brings
Philly.
some fire.
In
and
Philly,
I told you this, Hoagie. He has the passion again that he didn't have last year.
Exactly. In Philly, every goal he had the juice. He was loose. He looked like himself back at Notre Dame, where he was just like, let's go backyard ball, having fun. Even the one time when he got hit and he was going to go throw hands with, I forget who it was, but he was ready to throw punches.
Fight Ben Ware.
Yeah, I thought he was going to fight Ben Ware. He had to get pulled away. You see it. He's juiced up. He's fired up. He's a different player
cool to
ever
see the
since
passion back.
he's finally come into his own. I felt like he was in an awkward
spot
spot in Boston
it's
last
tough
year.
to see. It's tough to see. Hoagie and I have been on some losing teams. Dukes, you probably didn't know that, but it's tough to have the same passion. And, when your team starts to win, you start to get the love of the game back. Look, it happens in life.
Dude, you guys aren't bad. You guys just won the Big Ten this year. You guys are great. When have I ever said anything bad about you guys?
Coach Myers, where's my ring? God.
No, I do.
I need that broadcasting ring. But keep going. I want to hear your win.
I will. I do want to just make. I know I'm so sorry, but I do just want to make one point about the Outlaws overall. Is that I hate when people figure out in the PLL you just roll the ball out and just play, and these guys will figure it out week 1. No, They have no chemistry together, and you're finally seeing that like they don't practice during the week, and you're kind of seeing this all come into fruition. And week 4, they look like a completely different team. My winner of the weekend, I think it's got to be the Boston Cannons, and let me tell you why. Nothing they did on the field actually. So I think that when we end up in the end of the year, it's going to be the Atlas, the Cannons, the Water Dogs. The Cannons won this because of the Water Dogs score differential, what the Atlas were able to do against the Water Dogs. Now the Water Dogs are negative score differential. So like I think that will end up being huge when it comes to the standings with the Cannons and Water Dogs fighting for those like top 3 spots. So I found that, and then also the Cannons. First team to 3 wins. Let's clap it up for the Boston Cannons. Let's clap it up for Nestle.
Ledge.
And
Legend.
the first team to 3 wins, they have a 77.5 chance to make the 2026 PLL Champ Series. Mitch, they're going for a repeat there. You know those boys love to play sixes.
A repeat? They're going for a three-peat.
That's right.
Wow.
They're going for a
shit, I think I
three-peat,
forgot.
Dukes.
You know, I like that Cannons pick, honestly, Dukes, because these guys are saying Maryland, and Cannons beat Maryland. So I would say, yeah, they're the biggest winners. So
I feel like everyone in the
sound.
East has everyone in the East besides the Atlas and that collapse. Yeah. The Water Dogs too.
I say the one
Also
thing
impressive they were able to win the way they did. Marcus Holman didn't have a single point. I was looking at it. He's got 499 for the career, so we were like sitting on wins the 500 point. When's 500 coming? And then it never came, and they won.
Yeah, I think
That's
a
pretty
couple
impressive.
couple interesting points with the Cannons moving forward, just as we keep watching them. Asher Nolting's points this year, he's got 13 points, 2 goals, 11 assists, which I found interesting, the ratio there, just to start off the bat, because usually we see him scoring a lot of highlight reel goals. This year it's been a little different. It's been 2 and 11. They're winning, so I know he doesn't care, but it's interesting to see how he's only got 2 goals, but 11 assists at this point. One of the biggest things I like about this Cannons team is their midfield's been awesome. You know, obviously we know about Matt Campbell, his 2-point ability, but, you know, Mick Kelly, the rookie from Denver, he's been unbelievable. Drenner, he's been great for them. You know, a bunch of guys stepping up in that midfield. Cursed. So the midfield's really been their strength. If I had one concern moving forward for them, it's they've had droughts on offense where they've gone scoreless. They went almost 20 minutes scoreless in the game against Utah that they snuck out a couple weeks back. And then they had, I think, a 12-minute scoreless streak to end the fourth quarter. They were up 13-8 in that game Saturday night and only won 13-12. Whips ended that on a 4-0 run. They didn't score for the final 10 to 12 minutes of that game on Saturday night. So they've been known to have some offensive scoring droughts this year. That's going to be something to watch moving forward, even with the midfield production that they've gotten. But if I had to sound any alarm or question anything, it would be that. But, yeah, the Cannons have looked like the most consistent team start to finish so far after 4 weeks. They're probably the team to beat right now in the league. I didn't know if they have the most talent, Mitch, like I mentioned last week. I don't know. I think there's other teams that have the ability to out-talent them moving forward. But if we're just talking about, like, what team am I going to get week in, week out, I think the Cannons are the most consistent team that I trust to show up the same way week in, week out, regardless of the situation.
There haven't been many teams to out-talent them, though, in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I more so mean, like, I think the Water Dogs and the Atlas, when they click at their level and they're explosive, like, they're, I think, on another level, if that makes any sense. Like, I think they can reach a ceiling that the Cannons are capped at. The Atlas and the Water Dogs, I think, offensively. Yeah. Like, when those two teams click at their A-plus game, Mitch,
we've had around.
There's a level that they can hit that I don't know Boston can hit.
I feel like, I think I said this last time about the Atlas. It's like the same thing. It's like when the Atlas are on, they're on. You look at the star power. And you even are kind of playing devil's advocate here, Hoagie, because you at one point said, like, it's kind of the same thing here. The Atlas have had this stacked roster with Baptiste and Rabel when the league first started, right?
Yeah.
And they've never really been able to do anything. I think when they can turn it on, they can turn it on and be the best team in the league. But, again, it's just like when they can turn it on.
Or the thing is that, going back to my point, too, at Boston, I know what Boston team I'm getting each week. I don't know what Atlas team I'm getting each week. That's the biggest thing.
Dukes, do you agree with that?
I think Cannons just more talented than the Atlas, to be quite honest. I think they're more consistent. I think they're more talented. I think that the midfield, honestly, I think the Cannons midfield is just a lot better. And I think that the way that the Cannons attack works as a group, like Asher has completely turned into a pass-first attackman. Like, we saw this kind of happen right when Holman kind of came, but especially like last year. Like, you just saw him completely flip and be like, I'm going to use my body. I'm going to be like that. This is when the 𝐓𝐇𝐄 comparison started coming, is when he really became a pass-first attackman. Then you got Holman and McAsee on the opposite sides. I just think this makes a very formidable offense, and they just whip the ball around. I love the Matt Campbell, that midfield unit. I think they could beat you so many different ways, and I think the short stick D middies are some of the most underrated in the league.
And 𝐓𝐇𝐄 has been great for them too, by the way, at the faceoff X. He's really stepped up in an offensive threat and really gone toe-to-toe with a lot of the top guys in the league. We didn't know where 𝐓𝐇𝐄 kind of lied in that category of where was he. He was kind of one of the bottom faceoff guys in the league the last couple of years. An athletic guy who could make plays, but numbers-wise, not high enough. This year, he's really gotten his numbers higher up. He's been able to compete with some of the best in the league.
I agree that the Cannons are probably the most consistent team. That's how you get to 3-1. But I do agree, Hoagie, that this team does lack some top-end offensive potential, explosive level. And I think it's kind of under the radar right now because they're winning and because Coulter McAsee is scoring. He's got a hat trick in back-to-back games. But I think there's going to come a point where he's going to have to be a little bit of a dodger and beat his man if Asher's not able to have his way as a passer. Because we've seen Marcus Holman isn't known as the best dodger. He could take it to the rack with the game on the line in a pinch, but I think Coulter McAsee is going to have to win some matchups and not just be an off-ball shooter this year.
And I think also I've seen it online, but Ryan Drenner's been unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
I love Ryan Drenner.
And I think I'm also probably in love with some of the I think Mick Kelly's going to be awesome. I love Verdaro's game, and Matt Campbell. I've spoken enough about him. I think he's a top 2 to 1 midfielder in the world right now.
He's not a bad outfielder either.
No, he's not.
Yeah, that's true. He caught that foul ball. That was crazy.
How sick was that?
That was sick.
So sick. All right, as we keep it going, Doogs, who should the MVP should have been? Classic. It's going to be on the screen right now. Cue it. One of the best all-time lacrosse videos, in my opinion. Doogs, you want to give any reference of that origin of a piece?
Yeah, I went to the PLL quarterfinals. Mitch wasn't there. Don't know what he was doing.
See the jab, folks?
Was it last year or the year before?
Year before.
Okay.
And I got a little tuned up promoting the Bar Down Lounge. You have to be responsible.
'Cause he's a nice guy.
To get the content done, have the little mic out, asking people right after the MVP was released, who should the MVP should have been. All right, we're asking people who the MVP should have been. Who should the MVP should have been? All right, we're asking people who the MVP should have been. Who should the MVP should have been? And slip of tongue kind of went viral on the Barstool pages, and it's a moment. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's definitely a moment that was had.
It definitely is.
But my who should, yeah, it's iconic. That jersey's hanging up in the rafters at Gillette right now.
What player was that jersey, by the way? That Water Dogs jersey, Dukes?
I think it might have been myself. I mean, everyone wears their own jersey at PLL games when they're 25 years old, right? With their own name on it.
Yeah.
So who should the MVP should have been? All right, here's my rankings right now. Drum roll, please, Mitch. Number 1, Michael Sowers.
Okay, called it.
Number 5, Liam Entenman.
Heard of him.
Was that Kevin Mitch's pick, right, for MVP?
That was my preseason pick. Yeah.
Number 2, TJ Malone.
Okay.
Number 4, Asher.
There we go.
Knowlton.
That was my pick.
Number 3, the New York Atlas attackman that everybody is talking about. One of the best players that college lacrosse has ever seen. None other than Connor Schellenberger.
Wow. No teeter.
Dude.
No
Wow.
teeter. No
Come on.
teeter.
Why
Kev's
the
going to
no
fall
tee?
out of his
Why the
chair.
no tee?
We're
Talk to
doing
us.
this?
So, okay, realistically, 𝐓𝐇𝐄 definitely top 5, probably. But the way that I wanted my rankings to be, I don't think that they'll have 2 Atlas attackmen when it's all said and done. And I really wanted to give Entenman some shine. Now, if you ask me who the better overall attackman has been for the Atlas this year, it's been Connor Schellenberger. He has not gone quiet any game that he's played in. Kev, you talked about it a couple episodes ago. I think when we're going to look back at the season and we're going to see 𝐓𝐇𝐄 stats, we're going to see 6 points against the Cannons. That was all in garbage time. I was there. I saw it. It would be so insincere if I kind of counting that towards the MVP race right now. He had 1-1. I know it rained in both those games. I know that what he did without it raining this weekend. So Jeff Teat might be number 1 by next week. So this does not mean that he's out of my race or I'm hating on Jeff Teat by any means. This is me just being more like Connor Schellenberger should be the attackman that we are talking about right now for the Atlas as the guy that has not gone quiet, has kind of carried the boat for this offense, and someone that I think really deserves respect as a top 3 nominee this year.
The reason I can't get behind Connor Schellenberger over Jeff Teat is just that Connor Schellenberger, I think, fades too much. I think to be an MVP, you got to be the guy who's out there in the front all the time. I know he's been more consistent, and I'm surprised to see he's only 1 point behind Teat for the whole season, but he's only got 16 shots. And I just feel like Jeff Teat is going to be the guy who draws the number 1 poll, is going to have everyone's eyes on him. Connor Schellenberger is great dealing behind the net. I just feel like he is too often uncomfortable putting the ball on his stick and putting the game on his shoulders.
The only time I really felt like I saw that this year was the first weekend. And he had five points that weekend. So, like, even when he was going quiet, like, he was producing. And you could, like, say more than Jeff Teat to an extent.
I like your
guess
rankings,
I
dude.
guess that's true.
I do. I like your rankings. I think Sowers is still the MVP front runner right now for me personally. And I think probably he would be in the league's perspective right now, maybe. I know the last 2 weeks haven't gone the Water Dogs' way. They've lost their last 2. But I still think if you polled the league right now or a lot of the guys in the league and the media, I think Sowers, if we were voting today, would be the MVP of the league. So I still think he is one. But I do agree with you. I think TJ Malone is nipping at his heels. TJ Malone is going from, like I said before, Rookie of the Year, star in this league, to a superstar, a face of the league, everyone has his jersey type player. He is a superstar stud. So, and he's been playing out of his mind the last couple weeks, especially Saturday. I know the chaos kept him in check, but let's be real. Jack Rowlett's one of the best defenders in the league. You saw what he did against.
I don't know if he's nipping at Sowers'
I think
heels so much.
He passed him this weekend.
He's packing up some.
TJ Malone is the MVP frontrunner now.
He's played 1 extra game, Kevin. He has what?
One extra point. So go ahead, take away his 1 game, the game against the Chaos, where he had 1 goal against Jack Rowlett. Who cares? They win by 14. How many points did they need from TJ Malone? They got the exact same, 20 points in 4 games.
Bam.
It's the exact same as Michael Sowers.
Bam.
And the difference to me is that Sowers gets a lot of assists. I've said this before on the podcast. Give me the goals guy over the assist guy. TJ Malone puts the ball in the back of the net. He's even got a 2-pointer this year.
Just like Kev did back in the 90s, baby.
Give me the guy that give me the guy that makes teams better, that knows how to facilitate the ball. I'm taking the guy that has more points per game. 5 points per game. Leads the league points per game. Michael Sowers, 5.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you. I'll bring it back to college for you real quick. No Touraton ever got the Touraton for leading in assists. It's always the guy that puts the ball in the back of the net. Got to agree with Kev. He's got to take.
Yeah.
Pat Spencer.
Pat Spencer was an exception.
There's known as like the leader.
That's
in
an
assists.
exception, Dukes. Dukes, that's an exception, he says.
It's an exception. It's an exception. Because
TJ Malone is
So,
playing
Mitch,
at such
you-
an
Mitch,
insane
you think
level.
Pat Kav known as a goal scorer, not an assist guy.
Mitch, you think the MVP right now
just different.
Who is the MVP right now if the season ended today, Mitch?
I think you got to give it to Malone. I mean, people lie, stats don't.
I still think
People
it's
like
Sowers.
stats don't.
Duke, you're still on Sowers, I assume,
I
as
think
well.
Sowers has the ability 100%. He's definitely 1 and 2. We're talking about 1 and 2 here. But again, if you just said ended today, I'm looking at the numbers.
TJ Malone cannot be erased. Even when the Whipsnakes
Yeah, but
lose,
looking at
he
the
gets
numbers,
his.
he's got 1 more point, and the teams are 2-2 versus 2-3, so you can't really pull the numbers card. It'd be one thing if he was on a 4-0 team and they had even numbers. Like, it's not like the Whips have been taking the league by storm.
Hoagie, he balls out every single week.
I'm a TJ
he
Malone
is
guy.
a
I love
ball
TJ
knower.
Malone.
Did we
But I
have-
still
did you
think
not
Sowers
listen
is
to
the
him on the
MVP
show
as of
yesterday?
now.
Dog, there's just
I
so
just
much.
put him second in MVP. No one's. We're not.
No,
we're not doing
Mitch,
this.
he's
no.
1-2.
I'm gonna curse. I'm gonna curse. We're just not doing this fucking bullshit where we're gonna like pretend. Like, I'm sorry, kids, close your ears. We're not gonna do this BS where we're gonna be like we're hating on TJ Malone.
No,
I
we're
just
not.
put him second.
No one is.
Yeah,
We just,
dude,
we
nobody
just said
is.
he's top 2.
But we're
Mitch
just
is
saying
acting-
numbers.
Mitch is
don't
acting
lie.
like he wasn't even on your
We're gonna
top 5
Jim
list.
Stagnito. We're gonna get Jim
be number
Stagnito like hanging up newspapers, being like, TJ, they're doubting you. It's
remember-
like we just said he was second.
Just remember, you don't win the Touraton.
You're saying he
racking
wasn't
up
the steal of
assists.
the draft?
TJ Malone
he's got the
didn't
best
win it.
left hand. He's got the best weak hand of any of the MVP candidates you were just talking about. He can't be shut down. If you shut him down as a passer, he turns into a shooter. He can do everything. Gavin Adler, I think, in the Atlas figured out, Michael Sowers, you talk about him as a great distributor, great facilitator. His team hasn't broken 10 points in the last 2 games. Gavin Adler turned him into a shooter, said, okay, we're not going to let you feed. We're going to make you shoot. He's got 4 goals.
Kev, so
5 goals on the
who's
season.
number 2 then? If Malone's 1, who's number 2 for you?
T. I told you yesterday or last week I had T over Sowers.
So where
I'm
do you
gonna
have
give Doogs a
Sowers
lot-
then? Is Sowers in the top
Sowers
5?
is 3.
Sowers is 3.
Yeah.
He's 3.
So now, yeah, I'm hating on Sowers. But look, Doogs, great call on Sowers before the season. Very good call.
Same
I
with
think
Hoagie.
he's obviously still 1 or 2 or 3. So
Hey, all of our finalists are in the top 5 at Doogs right now.
Look,
All of
yeah,
our picks.
if we're gonna also get into this really quick, like when you're, I think if you ask me one, I'd probably say Gavin Adler. If you were like, who's the worst matchup for Michael Sowers? It might be Gavin Adler, maybe Ajax. I'd probably say Gavin Adler. And I've been giving Gavin Adler some flack this year for how I think the Atlas have performed. I actually would go as far to say that game goes way differently if Liam Entenmann's not in that game. Like, the Water Dogs, it wasn't like they were getting bad shots. Liam Entenmann's just the best goalie in the world. I think that any other game that you play that and the Water Dogs get those shots, that game goes down a lot differently. I'm not saying that the Atlas don't get 17. DeLuca also had an off game, but that game flow goes way different. Like, I'm giving
right.
Liam Entenmann is unbelievable. Yeah. I'm not going to give Gavin Adler all that credit.
Dukes, can I ask you a question? Do you like guys
Sorry.
that graduate from Notre Dame?
I like guys that graduate from Ohio State. They put me on podcasts. I like them.
quick question about your top 5 though, Dukes.
Do you think that Liam Entenmann is the best goalie in the league this year?
He was my preseason pick for MVP, so I was expecting him by the end of the year to have proven it. Look, Blaze looked great in that one game. He's been up and down. I feel like every goalie's kind of had an up and down game. McNaney hasn't yet, small sample size, but I think Entenmann's kind of been the most solid. Even in the games they lost, I don't think he's
so
been below
many
50.
shots.
Yeah, I
He
know.
does. He does.
He sees so many shots.
I still think
I wanted to ask you, though.
still think I'm rolling with Dauber though. I love Dauber's
See,
game.
I don't hate that answer. I'm not like the top 4. I don't care who you say is number 1, to be honest. But Dauber, clearly is Hobber right now. He can't walk around. So
Hobber.
Yeah.
I mean, big game goalie, 1 game to win. I'm probably going Dobson. You know, if I got to pick one, I'm in the championship game. I can pick any goalie. I mean, how do you not pick him?
I want an Entenmann Dobson championship game. So
Wow.
That would be
Those two
sick.
facing off would be sick. What's
Literally.
Dobson's
That
what?
would be
Back-to-back championship
you'd be
game
getting
MVP?
the college clutch
MVP,
versus
yeah,
pro
dude.
clutch.
Done. Back-to-back
So
MVP of the championship game. So sick. He just
Dudes,
balls
I'm
out in the
interested
biggest
though
moments.
on your top 5 here. You got 3 Atlas players, which is eating up some space, and I'm curious,
Who? So
well,
I-
Shelley T. Entenmann,
Yeah.
so it's really only 2 Atlas players. But anyway, I'm curious, if you were to put an Outlaw in here, who is the Outlaws MVP?
Okay, this is tough
I
right
think it's
now.
gotta
what
be
he's
Pat.
gonna say.
I think
Right
it's
know
now,
what
I'd
he's
say
gonna
Pat.
say.
Right now, I'd say Pat. If
Yeah,
you
it's
ask
Pat.
me,
It's
who
100%
will most
Pat.
likely be at the end of the year, Jared Bernhardt.
I said
It's got to be Pat right now. It has to be.
And Hoagie picks
What?
Owen McElroy. All right, buy to sell. Let's do it, baby. Buy or sell. New segment on the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show. We're going to be saying and asking Doogs, Kevin, and Hoagie if they would buy or sell this phrase or opportunity. Are we buying or selling 𝐓𝐄/Ford as the future of the chaos? Doogs, your head's down, so you're going to start.
You know what? I'm going to buy it. I think Roy Colsey. I'm more confident about Roy Colsey than I am about Spencer Ford as the GM. I think Colsey's a guy you want to play for. I think this is like one of those head coach situations where they walked into a dumpster fire. They got all these guys leaving, no foundation to this team. They're trying to clean up the mess. This year was always going to be ugly. And besides the last game against the Whipsnakes, the Chaos have put together good fights. And, I mean, we saw it week 1 against the Atlas. And I think the way that these guys respond to 𝐂𝐂 on the sidelines, he clearly has a strategy and has been watching the PLL since 2019 and knows the types of strategies that he wants to implement to his program. So I'm buying this regime.
Yeah, I agree with Doogs 100% too. I think when we're talking about the Chaos preseason, right, when we're talking about them at training camp, we were like, this team's by far and away the worst team in the league. And, besides this weekend where it was really bad, they've honestly impressed me. They had a great win on their first game in their homecoming weekend. They played the Atlas tough. So they, although we know they're one of the bottom teams in the league, yeah, I think, they were inherited this team that wasn't great, right? The last couple of years they've won with Blaze playing, great net. They've won with defense. The offense hasn't been there for a couple of years. To me, I'm more buying the head coach GM thing moving forward for more teams. I'm buying that kind of way of running my roster and team moving forward. I'm buying the 𝐂𝐂 Ford, the, Spallina and Kelly, GM head coach. Not every team has it. They're the only 2 teams in the league that have it. I'm buying the head coach GM and the PLL moving forward. That's my buy.
Can I respond to that really quick? I think you always buy that for that year 1, but then comes the friction of who gets the credit, who deserves like the coach is going to want to stick with his players. It's going to be some tough goodbyes. You might get into trouble with the GM. It's good for now. But I think
I'm always buying a second opinion, though. I'll tell you that. When no one tells you you're wrong, that's where you can go off the deep end. When someone reels you back in and makes you come back to reality.
I do agree. Yep. You haven't seen it by Bates in the ass, no, I do. And Stagnita's like the only person that really has no emotions to like cutting players. I mean, we clearly have seen that. But I do. Yeah. I even want to buy the GM coach duo because I think by year 4 of this really being a thing, I think there's going to be like more drama and more like stuff that really comes together like you see like in all these professional sports.
How many teams? We got 2 teams right now. How many teams have a GM next year on top of a head coach? You think any?
I'd say it doubles.
You think 2 more teams add a GM?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm most curious to see like who will be that last coach holding out, who's still like he's a head coach.
I mean, it seems
GM.
like just from who we're talking about, it feels like it's going to be Stag to kind of hang out.
That would be so cool.
I think Bates is going to be one of the first to get a GM.
I think Bates might be the first person to retire from coaching and become just a GM.
I mean,
wow.
Talk to me this way. Like, if I'm a coach, why would I not want a GM? Like
I agree, Mitch. Why would I not?
Money and all that stuff, like that sounds annoying as a guy that your role is to help win games from a coaching perspective. I don't want to be chatting money and dollar signs with these players.
Think about how much easier the Bernhardt situation would be if you had a GM involved rather than just pseudo trying to negotiate with Bernhardt the whole time. If it was like the Redwoods and Coach Kelly's like, look, Joe, or, you go deal with it. You go get him. We want him. Whatever it takes, go get him. There we go. Like, I'll handle the rest. Instead, Sudan's got to worry about managing his roster for that upcoming week, but also trying to sign Bernhardt at the same time. It's like you're going back and forth.
I think 2 to 3 teams get it next year.
Okay.
And to that point, I'm buying, but only because I don't think the stock could be any lower than it is right now. And we've seen, if you got off the train with Pressler and the Atlas in year 1, if you got off the train with Tierney and the Water Dogs in year 1, it's supposed to be rough your first go around. And the Chaos are figuring that out firsthand right now. Now, I'll say, I definitely think Roy 𝐂𝐂 has a slightly easier job. He's got to win over the locker room and prove that he knows what he's doing on game day. But I think he's done a little bit of that already. One thing I will say, both of the games that Blaze didn't finish, he came out and said, like, Blaze pulled himself. He's earned the right. We saw this with the Water Dogs in year 1 when Tierney kind of was like, hey, I don't want to step in and take over the culture too much. And then they win 1 game and he comes in year 2 and is like, no, this is my culture now. I'm not saying Roy 𝐂𝐂 needs to start benching Blaze at second half, but he needs to take ownership of the things that are happening on game day. It is because of you. Spencer Ford, on the other hand, has a way tougher job, if you're asking me. He inherited a mess. This is a team that Chaos had historically had a bad habit of drafting players who never played for them, whether it was Dylan Hess, Jared Bernhardt, Jeff T, Levi Anderson, like the list goes on. These are just guys that the previous regime threw away picks on, basically. And then not to mention also the guys who have dropped out, Josh Byrne, Dane Smith over the years. And now you're rebuilding that, and they only have 2 picks this year. that we saw them. They moved one already. And then next year, they only have 2 picks because they've already spent their 3rd and their 4th round picks on trades for Josh Sawada, Carter Parlett, and Chris Eslanian. So they got to find a way. If I'm Spencer Ford, I'm doing something between now and the trade deadline to try and build draft capital for next year in the future.
If I'm Spencer Ford, I'm trying to get Ryan Ogden on my roster.
I think that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, I think that's somebody that's on the Redwoods, hasn't really suited up consistently. He's been protected, I think, twice now. That's a call that I'm making, especially with Chris Eslanian out. I think that Ryan Ogden is a 19-man guy in this league.
Yeah, and the Chaos need the help. Obviously, this past week.
What makes you say that? Did they lose or something this weekend? What was the score?
Three new players in the lineup in 𝐓𝐇𝐄 and Shane Knobloch.
Yeah.
And it just was like kind of a little bit of a mess. And that'll maybe get better as the season goes on. And that would be a little bode to confidence for Roy Colsey. So.
Oh, you're right. And this is like going back to what we were saying about the Outlaws a couple minutes ago, just about like it's not going to work week 1. This was almost like week 1 for them. And can't imagine Shane was in training camp practicing 100% of the time. And was almost a month ago now. And then Owen 𝐓𝐇𝐄 probably had 1 practice.
I almost felt bad how much pressure and spotlight was put on Owen 𝐓𝐇𝐄 going into that game because, obviously, just joining the team. I know he's a first-round pick, but I think everyone knew, like, Owen 𝐓𝐶 isn't going to be able to just come in and the Chaos are going to be an awesome offense right from the bat there. So he's got a lot of heavy lifting to do in the rest of the season, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think going on to another team organization player that I need some help is the one that comes close to our heart. Been a fan of the show, Matt Rambo. Are we buying or selling Matt Rambo as a starting attackman in the PLL? Let's start with 𝐓𝐇𝐄.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy him as a starting attackman in the league. I think, or at least as a starter in the league. I think it might not be with the Whipsnakes moving forward, but I'm buying him as he's gonna be back playing in this league, back to the potential that he was at the end of last year and that he's known to be. He's a former MVP, former face of the league. I don't know how much the rest of the year. It seems like the offense has been working with Matt Rambo. They're the best game of the season without Matt Rambo on Sunday. But, Rambo is a big part of that locker room. He's a big part of that team. Yep. Like I mentioned before, they have 20 days off. They don't play for another 3 weeks. So I think Stags and him are really going to sit down and they're going to, kind of dig into it. And I think they're going to talk man-to-man, real life, and be like, all right, how are we going to approach this situation the rest of the year? Are we going to make it work? How can we make it work? Where can we put you? Where can we not? What Stags is going to tell him how he feels, and I think Matt's going to say the same thing back to him. And I'll be interested to see when they play that game in Chicago where Rambo and the Whips are in terms of how they handle that situation. So I'm buying his stock. I think his stock's at the lowest it's been in his professional career. So if I'm a Matt Rambo fan, he's a fan of the show. I'm a fan of what he did in college, Tewaaraton winner. I'm a fan of, the juice he brings, his energy. So if anything,
nice guy.
I'm a nice guy alert. I'm buying his stock there. Whether it's in a Whipsnakes uniform or it's on a different team the rest of this year, could there be a blockbuster trade where Matt Rambo's on a different team come the second half of the year or next year?
Potentially.
But I'm buying Matt Rambo stock because, like we said, I don't think it can be any lower at this point with how good of a player he is. So it's only going to go up once he gets his form back and kind of once everything starts clicking again.
The question was starting attackman, though, 𝐓𝐶𝐄. I'm selling him as a starting attackman.
That's fair.
I think I am buying him still, his stock, like you said, but he's got to reinvent himself. He's got to figure out a way to be effective as a midfielder, coming out of the box, finding the matchups, exploiting them, working off ball. That's a different Matt Rambo than we've known for the entirety of his PLL career. I'm not giving up on him, and honestly, I don't see him going anywhere other than Maryland. Like, I don't see the Whips trying to trade him. I don't see him getting cut or released. I think they find a way to make it work because he's such a big impact in that locker room. Yeah. They made it all the way to the championship game last year with him in the starting lineup. Things get shifted around. I don't think that they move from this attack unit as long as everyone stays healthy there. Pennell, Aiden Carroll, TJ Malone, that's your starting unit. But Pennell's up there in age too. Maybe there's a situation where he needs a rest day. Rambo comes in. Maybe he starts an attack and a spot start like that. So I don't know. Maybe
I do agree,
right,
Kev. Before Doogs gets his point off, I think we can all agree it'd be really weird to see Matt Rambo not in a Whipsnakes uniform.
Yes.
Like, he's one of those guys that, like, I can't see in a different uniform.
I can see him in a chaos.
Doogs. Doogs could see him in chaos uniform in
Is that
Carolina.
true?
I could. I think that when you buy or sell this guy, and again, it's a starting attackman. Like, are we saying? I'll buy that he's gonna start a game and attack in the PLL game again. Like, at least for the Whipsticks, for another team, I think he definitely will. Consistently, I don't know about that. I do agree with everything that Kev said. He's gonna have to reinvent himself. I think that what this relies on more than anything is how bad does Matt Rambo want it? Like, does Matt Rambo want to go reinvent himself? Does he want to go work out in the offseason and kind of be like, you know what, I have people to prove? Or is he kind of like, you know what, I've had a hell of a career. I've done everything that I have had to do. Now I want to go drink and play golf and coach lacrosse. Like, there's two different ways to look at this, and
There is.
It's a very hard buy or sell, because if he just is like, whatever, I'm going to work out every single day this year, then I'm like, oh yeah, he could be in the MVP race next year.
Bill Manny type preparation.
I don't doubt that he still has it in him. It's still there. Just think the guy just got married, and he probably was just preparing for a wedding for like 6 months. Didn't really like give a crap about off-season training, and it's biting him in the ass right now. And for the first time in his professional career, he's probably very embarrassed.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, too? If you go back and you think about that week of media leading up to the championship game, I remember Matt Rambo did a lot of interviews, one in particular with Scott Van Pelt. I don't know if you guys remember that interview. And, like, they're kind of reminiscing about the Maryland days and stuff, Maryland Terp days. And, you know, the way Matt Rambo's talking, he's like, yeah, I'm an old man now. And, like, you know, it was kind of like he knew the end of his career is near. And I think he maybe got it in his head in that moment, like winning that championship and going off into the sunset, and then they lost. And then it's like that's not how he pictured it ending.
Sure.
And so he came back this year. He's trying to make it work. And like, yeah, like I said earlier, he's got to reinvent himself. And the unfortunate thing is he had that opportunity for the first 3 weeks, didn't really make it work. And then they put Levi Anderson, and he scored 5 goals in kind of the role that Matt Rambo was playing previously. So it's tough, but I don't think it's over for Matt Rambo.
Yeah,
obviously he's not been having like the greatest year. Obviously, we know that from a stat standpoint. But do you think we are overreacting with this standpoint? I mean, look, it's been one game. I know Hoagie just mentioned they had their best game, but like, you know, this stuff happened. Like, Doogs missed the podcast, last week, 2 weeks ago. We had our best episode, and like we're brought him back. It's like the same situation.
No points through the first 2 weeks. It was a multitude of a lot of stuff. I don't know how many points. How many points does he have on the year? 2 points?
Yeah, that's like
2
me
assists.
missing the episode and you posting like 0 TikToks about it. Like, there was nothing like I produce when I'm on the field. Like, it doesn't matter, like, wins or losses. Like, I get my points. I get my numbers.
That was a shot at me.
Whether Doogs has a good point or not, he's getting his numbers.
I do think that with Rambo though, like, Kark talks about investment bankers and being busy. Like, Kev's talking about riding off into the sunset last year, coming back, preparing for a wedding. There's no busier man than a guy that's preparing for a wedding. Like, and I think he got married like 2 months before the season. I think they're good left. I think that people are like, he's a professional. He should have worked out. He should have done this. He probably should have. I just don't think that he's. Yeah, I don't think he's that type of guy. And like, maybe it is just like after the season, he's just kind of like, fuck it. I won an MVP. Won so many championships. I had one of the best PLL careers. Like, my time's just done. It's a young man's game.
I mean, yeah, his trophy case is one of the fullest in the league. I mean, national champion at Maryland. What did he win? 2 championships with the Whips? Tewaaraton, league MVP. I mean, MVP. You look at his trophy case behind Kev right there. I mean, you might run out of shelves. So, I mean, he's had an amazing career. So, let's not, you know, if Matt Rambo wants to have fun and enjoy his wedding season and enjoy his honeymoon, I'm all for it. I think he deserves that because he's won more than 90% of the league ever has or ever will dream to win.
And the young guys are really, young guys are really getting their chance to shine, I think, this year more than ever, just given, like, who's left the league. Like, there's just not as many of these staples. Even, like, Zed Williams is injured. Josh Byrne no longer in the PLL. Like, there's roles for guys to step up and get their numbers and be in the top 10. I mean, if you look at the top 10 in points right now, like, it's a bunch of young guys like we talked about. So it's You kind of see young guys.
It's a young man's game. It's a young man's game.
You see young guys taking Rambo's job. You see Kai the goalie getting podcast equipment. It's a young man's game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Kai
the goalie is
we're like the Matt Rambo right now.
Job.
Kai the goalie's Aiden Carroll.
Whatever guy's getting the mannequin next, Kai's taking his spot. All right, last one. Buy or sell. We're keeping it going.
Mitch, you better watch out. This might be the Kai the Goalie Lacrosse Show on TLN shortly. You better watch out.
Goalie Lacrosse Show.
See you, Mitch. We're
God,
taking
if I
Kai the
ever see
Goalie
that-
next year.
if I
Doogs,
see
Kev,
that,
Hoagie, and Kai the Goalie.
The
Yo,
cameras.
also, I want to give Kai the goalie. Kai the goalie. We should have him boots on the ground in Philly doing who's the MVP should have been.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's a good idea.
Kai,
No
go ahead,
alcohol.
reach out. We got to get you on the show. Yeah.
Just
Sober,
sodas.
sober. All right.
Capri Suns
buy or
only.
sell. Last buy or sell we got, and this one's interesting. Obviously, with this past weekend, Kevin, are you buying or selling Miles Jones in the Atlas midfield rotation?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me, and I as much as I want to buy it, I think that I'm selling it just because they look so good this past weekend without Miles Jones in the lineup. So I guess I'm buying the young guys in the Atlas midfield rotation, the Matt Trainers, the 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐀𝐂𝐑𝐎𝐒. Reed Bowering came in there, played a little off ball. I don't really think that's what's taking up Miles Jones's reps. I also think 𝐓𝐇𝐄 looked really like he had all the space, all the time, all the opportunities to do all the things that he wanted to do, had an outstanding game. So I don't know. I didn't think Miles Jones was playing that bad through the first two games, and honestly has been one of the best passing midfielders. But I don't know. Maybe the offense just doesn't flow as well. They looked really good without him on the field. I don't know if anyone sees it differently.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kev. I think after watching this weekend, I'm definitely selling Miles Jones in the Atlas midfield rotation. I think it's a mix of a couple of things. I think obviously they looked great this weekend, and you're going to buy the kids, a.k.a. the youth, the young guns. The Long Island Railroad, Doogs, finally announced 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐀𝐂𝐑𝐎𝐒 as the railroad at the PLL weekend, so shout out to Doogs for getting that thing done. But I think for me, if there's a guy that I can actually see in a different uniform, it's Miles Jones in a different uniform. He started his career in the PLL in 2019 as a Chaos player. I could see him back in the Carolina Chaos uniform. He's more in a guy that I see on a different team than Matt Rambo moving forward. I think he could be more of a guy on the trading block on a different team moving forward. I don't think he really fits with this Atlas field team anymore in the midfield rotation. I'm selling him moving forward as a mainstay in that midfield, not as a guy on the team, but as a main contributor, mainstay guy on that offense. I'm going to sell Miles Jones moving forward, and I think he can be a guy that I will buy on a different team, just not on the Atlas.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what did the Redwoods give up for Sam Hanley the other week?
The third round pick.
Yeah, like if I had that option, if I knew Miles Jones might be on the trading block, like who would you rather have?
Bring him back to the Woods, yeah, a couple weeks
There's
ago.
just not too many. I can't. I'm buying Miles Jones stock. I mean, first off, for me personally, I think that Miles Jones is one of the best passing midfielders in the league. I think that's something that like a casual PLL fan kind of does not realize, that he's been that guy as a passing midfielder the past couple of seasons. For my money, the death of Miles Jones has been greatly over-exaggerated. And I think when you're naming guys, like, yeah, 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐀𝐂𝐑𝐎𝐒 should get a shot. Yeah. Matt Trainer definitely deserves, but besides the 𝐓𝐇𝐄, like, I think he should start over Reed Bowering, Kyle Jackson, Max Krevsky, like even Jake Stevens. I know is young, but like I'd still probably take Miles Jones at this point right now. So I just think there's too many guys that you couldn't dress over him.
Yeah, the way that it goes though is I feel like it's between Kelleher and Miles Jones, like the way that they're stylistically, that's like the two guys that are kind of like competing for like the same role in the offense. And I would go with Kelleher. But I don't think Kelleher is going to have like 2-3 assists a game. So it's like they offer two different things, if you ask me. And I feel like Kelleher is just like fewer touches right now. He doesn't really bog down the offense, and 𝐓𝐇𝐄 can do his thing.
And I know like the Atlas played great, and I don't want to give them like. I'm trying to be careful. Like the offense looked great, but I don't think they looked great because Miles Jones was out. I think it was a culmination of their very talented team. It wasn't raining. Matt DeLuca played like shit. Like Matt DeLuca had 5 saves.
Literally 5
I think if Miles Jones is in that lineup and he has 1 goal, 4 assists. Are we like, holy shit, Miles Jones is like the best? Are we overreacting to that? So like, there are factors to these situations that like I'm trying to take into account. I think the Atlas just won because Matt Rambo was shit and the Atlas looked good, not because Miles Jones was out of the midfield lineup. And I think Brian Costabile, I think I was saying it week 1 in Albany. I was like, he is 1% away from just nailing these shots. Like, he has the closest misses in the PLL. He misses by like thin margin. So you see him steps up. Like, Brian Costabile also, I don't think he's just good lacrosse, but I don't think it's because Miles Jones. But it could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah. A couple more things I'm buying, just off the top of my head. I'm buying the Water Dogs as a top contender in this league. I feel like people could jump off the bandwagon after 2 losses. I'm buying the Whip Snakes as a playoff team. I think the Whip Snakes are going to make the playoffs this year. I think it's going to be either Philly or Atlas who are out, one of those two. I think Boston's in. I think the Whips are going to get in. I'm also buying the Archers offense to figure it out and pick it up in the second half of the year. Once they get healthy, I think they're going to get that thing clicking again. And I'm buying Trevor Baptiste stock. He was under 50% against Joe Nardello a week ago. I think he was right at 50 this past weekend in the Water Dogs game against 𝐓𝐇𝐄. I'm buying him to be back towards the top of the league in percentage-wise moving forward. Just a couple off the top of the head.
This guy gets prepared.
Hoagie, did you just buy Water Dogs championship contender stock and then be like they're going to miss the playoffs, though?
One of the two, I think. I'm going to buy them as a contender.
Can't say that.
I mean, yeah, thinking in my brain right now, I'm like, wow, that was really conflicting.
Just say. Can you say
so
I'm
hard not
sorry,
to laugh?
Like,
I was legitimately like,
can you just say like
That was a
that's on
Mitch
me,
moment right
my
there.
fault. But you can.
What?
I think the problem is you don't know how to point the thumb. Like just say like.
No,
say
I'll
what
own
the
that.
own match
I'll
worth
own
is.
that.
Yeah,
I'll
own
own that.
All right,
But I also can buy them. I can buy the Whips.
That
means, you know what? I'll say it right now then. Atlas missing the playoffs. There you go. Because I'm buying the Whips in the playoffs, and I'm buying the Water Dogs in the playoffs.
Thank
Atlas
God
out.
for Doogs fact checking.
Atlas out. As of right now, that could change after later in the season, but right now.
I like
just need
that.
Kind of goalie's taking my spot, so.
Get the man.
I'll tell you a stock I'm selling. I'm selling Aiden Carroll.
He's too hot,
Just had a
dude.
great
He can't
weekend.
get any hotter.
Yeah, it's kind of like Circle
kinda like
stock
one of
for all
those
those
stocks
finance
that's
guys out there that are following Circle.
Yeah, like
I
Mitch
just
Pehlke.
Yeah.
How are we buying or selling McNaney's stock moving forward? He's been hot too.
We're buying.
You're
Dude,
buying
you
it to
just
go
talked
higher?
in the earliest episode that he's the most like steady Eddie goalie.
No, I agree.
No, I think so. If you, I mean, he's at what 63% on the year right
Yeah,
now. Like
that's hard to
I would
keep
have
that
to
thing
sell.
up.
Yeah, I'd have to sell
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you'd have to sell that, Mitch. That's the thing.
Like, you want to
What
buy
about
that?
his
You think he's
rookie
gonna
of the
go?
year? What about his
Not
rookie of the
saying
year?
buy it,
odds?
but I think he can. I think he can stay with that.
I still think it's gonna be McAdory. I think that it's too often that we forget about guys that have the buy.
True.
We'll see next week, and that'll lead us right into Week 5. The Redwoods of the homecoming out in California. Hoagie, your Woods.
The Woods. Hey, people
you nervous?
People forgot about the Woods, since they had the bye week this week. I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot about them. But, look, I'll tell you what. The Woods got 2 tough games. They got the Outlaws, the team they already beat, but the Outlaws are a completely different team than they saw Week 1 in Albany Friday night. That's going to be a tough game. And then turn around, they got a Water Dogs team who's lost 2 straight and is looking for a win and needs a win. So you got the Redwoods playing the 9 p.m. game on Friday. So short rest for the Woods. They got to play the hungry Water Dogs team. If I've learned anything, the Woods are going to win one of those 2. Which one, I don't know yet, but they're going to split those games because all these teams split the games in their homecoming weekend. But a lot of great games, other than, unfortunately, I don't think the 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐂𝐂 game is going to be much of a game. But watch, now the Chaos will win. We'll see what the kids have to say about that. Doogs, I know you want to touch on fading the kids is a real thing. It's not just propaganda.
Dude, fading the kids is the most profitable thing that I've ever done in my life. And honestly, if I could even tweak the algorithm, and I didn't even want to take the chaos in the last game, given how many people they were adding to the lineup, and it really didn't fit the full criteria because 46% of people picked them. But holy shit, I think it's like 12-4 on the year, 12-3 on the year. I forget the exact. I remember I tweeted right before the chaos.
So the kids are going to take the Outlaws, the kids are going to take the Atlas, the kids are going to take the Redwoods, and then the kids are going to take the Cannons. So that means it's going to be Redwoods, Archers,
Dukes, no
Water
way
Dogs,
you're
Chaos.
fading the kids on the Cannons Chaos game.
Are you going to fade the kids?
Correct
then?
or incorrect?
So it's a spread. I'll take the spread. You don't take this game straight up.
What's
so
the spread?
in that game?
Hurry up.
Dude, I'm looking.
Should we have
Enjoy your hotel room, Pehlke.
Probably one of the biggest spreads in PLL history.
2.5, yeah, like Chaos 2.5 auto.
That's
and Chaos
monster.
2.5, and I will say Chaos 2.5 might be the best play of the weekend, given that you're also getting a Blaze back.
Bounce back.
Bounce back. I was
Fading
like,
the 12-3. The kids are 12-3. It's crazy that the kids are 12-3.
Yeah.
Bounce back game
It's
from
kinda
Blaze
crazy.
too, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, the Cannons are gonna blow them out. 2.5 Chaos. I love.
Mitch, you haven't been looking at the kids though when making your picks, right? I haven't either. I've been just going, yeah.
You touch
Even the Water
Italian
Dogs.
horn
The
once or
Water Dogs
twice and
I
you get it
took.
going.
The Dogs I took on the pick'em because I was like, I don't know, but following the algorithm, I faded the Dogs. Won. I took the Atlas.
kids.
Fade the kids. Fuck the kids.
No.
Pause.
no.
Pause.
This is
pause,
family
pause,
friendly,
pause,
Dukes.
pause,
Corey,
pause, cut
edit
that.
that thing out.
Cut that. Cut that.
All right,
cut
well,
that,
after
cut that.
Doogs is going to buy and sell everything in the league, we got to go to potentially one of the biggest parts of the whole entire show. Duke Cannon, work harder, smell better, moment of the week. Kev, since you're similar in age, why don't you raffle this one off?
Dog, I think we actually did graduate from college the same year.
Look at that.
RP3.
Pehlke has the stats.
Rob Pennell breaking the all-time assist record. Incredible moment, huge history-making moment. We knew for a while it was coming. Passes Ryan Boyle for the most all-time. I guess that makes him the best feeder in history. He's done it for a lot of different teams. I think he had the most of his assists in the MLL days with the Long Island Lizards or New York Lizards, whichever it was at the time. But getting his most recent assists as a member of the Whip Snakes, still getting the job done. He was in a little bit of a shooting slump this year, but broke it in the second game, got a couple goals in. So I love to see Rob Pennell right now drinking from the fountain of youth, looking young, winning games, breaking records. I love Rob Pennell, a true pro.
Mitch, I could have seen you tucking your shirt in like Rob Pennell did back in the day at Ohio State. You like the tucked in jersey, getting it in there.
RP3 is a legend. He was actually part of Mitchell Pehlke's first podcast. Does anyone know the name of that?
Pehlke Talk.
Pehlke Talk.
Pehlke Talk. I've
Pehlke
seen
Talk.
it.
That was the COVID days, Mitch.
That was the COVID days, and he still wishes he won, obviously, the championship. But, I think an aspect of his game that's really interesting to me is how much he still puts into it. He's here at this same event I'm at. We were talking in the elevator as we went down. He has had a massage, a ice bath, Normatec every single week of his season for the past 5 years. Like, think about that. No other guys, I feel like, are really putting in that behind-the-scenes work of taking care of their body. But it shows. He's playing at this age. Kev, how old are you?
34.
Yeah, in their late 30s, still putting up points, breaking records. Like, that's what it's all about. Okay,
Dude,
Rob Pennell's elite.
You and Rob Pennell, you do that for F45. Yeah. You got the Normatec going before the recording. You're like,
Did he get it or no?
I don't know. Over my head.
And now, our interview with Jared Bernhardt. And we got Jared Bernhardt on the scene, baby. One of the first crossovers we've had yet. Let's clap it up. Jared, how we doing? How's the day been?
Pretty good. Appreciate y'all having me.
Let's do it. Obviously, back on the scene. Your name's been buzzing in the lacrosse community for a couple weeks now. Bring us back. Talk to us about the when and the why of really deciding to get back to the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, just the past couple of years, I was at Maryland for a year, but doing the football journey, right now it's kind of the right time for me. I was up in Canada probably 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. I was up in training camp up there, got released. Thoughts started to churn. Maybe make the comeback. Reached out to some people in the PLL and see what the interest was there, and then here I am.
I love that. Obviously, on the Outlaws this year, talk to us about kind of that recruiting process. Maybe it brought you back from high school to then ending up in Maryland. What was the recruiting process to obviously end up on the Outlaws in the PLL?
Yeah, it was great. All the teams, all the coaches had great conversations. Obviously ended up picking the Outlaws. Just, for myself, I just felt like it was the right move, right spot to be. And the last few weeks have been great. The guys have been awesome.
100%. I think for you, obviously, attempting the air gate in game one, what was going through your mind? Is that something that you were like, we're going to attack this and just blow it out the water in game one?
No, I think I'm always just attacking in general. I've obviously was doing the football stuff, but still following my brother's play. And you're growing up just watching guys, play the game, and just, even now just seeing how, creative it is, the skill set, and, I think just for me, it was also just trying to enjoy myself. Like, it didn't go, but, went for it, and, it is what it is.
Definitely. I made a video with Pat Spencer a couple months ago, and he said if he was playing basketball his whole life, he would have a couple more dollars in his pocket. Do you think the same trajectory would be true for you, obviously, on the football side?
Maybe not. Like I said, I'm gonna. The football, I mean, just any of the professional sports, they're tough, to be in, as far as just, when you're in it, you're seeing how cutthroat it is, trying to make a team, and, obviously you make it, you can, earn some good money. But, for me, just kind of doing, what I personally think I want to do. And, said with the PLL, regardless, it's not, the biggest coming, in with some of the money stuff, but, the league's, growing, it's exciting. And, for me coming from a non-hotbed area, growing the sport, and getting it out there more is pretty cool.
Definitely. And Doogs, I kind of want you to hit on your couple questions that we have on here regarding, obviously, going away from the game and then coming back.
Yeah, Jared, I want to ask you this, because I think there's a lot like of this in like the AAU culture with even basketball, but even lacrosse with all the summer leagues. These kids that aren't even playing football, basketball anymore. They're just sticking to lacrosse. And I'm not saying this happened, but I feel like a lot of times kids, even that are our age, they leave college lacrosse for a couple of years. Like, you know what? Like, I actually am getting interested again. Let me go pick up men's league.
Yeah.
Did you find a new love for lacrosse after giving it up since Maryland?
I was thinking about that a little bit today, just kind of the, being back in, just that drive. But like I said, I mean, doing the football stuff, I was all in for it. I wasn't playing lacrosse. I didn't pick up a stick. But, to that point with kids, I think, I was played multiple sports growing up. It wasn't just all, centralized around, lacrosse. And I think that benefited myself. And you see a lot of, I'm sure if you ask most of the guys playing, like they played other sports as well. So, I'm always a proponent. My brothers are a proponent of, hey, go play football, basketball, go play all these other sports. I think you see it nowadays. A lot of kids, their parents, or they're just doing the, just one specific sport. But, I was always a proponent of playing multiple.
Right. And going off that, I think you kind of answered this hypothetical. I think when there was talk that you were coming back into lacrosse, people were like, does he still got it? The last time we saw you play, 2021, to Wartown, you're one of the best players that I've personally seen in college lacrosse. Now, another guy that I thought was one of the best players I've ever seen, Pat Spencer, basketball player. And my question to you is, you make it seem so seamless. Do you think that Pat Spencer, if he walked onto the field this weekend, that he'd have immediate success? Or what do you think that would look like? What would your advice be to him stepping onto the field if he just picked up the stick this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I need to answer that. I think you guys probably have that answer. I think you'd be just fine. Obviously I think there's some sort of rust. I mean, it's just like I always equate it to, you have summer, you're going back to college, you worked out, you did all this stuff on your own, but, you're trying to get back and play and get back into playing shape and knocking some of that rust off in fall ball. But I think Pat would probably be doing just fine. Yeah.
And I do wonder, like, the other kids, players that have played sports, like Doogs MVP. I know you got recruited by, obviously, the Outlaws players. Was he trying to get you to play in that Ohio league that he's playing in?
I did not hear from him about playing. I heard about the Ohio league, but he did not reach out to me about playing. Like I said, I don't know if I I said, I think the football stuff, I went and did it. I kind of put all my effort into being the best I could at that sport, and was super thankful for my journey, from Ferris to Atlanta, and even, a little short cup of coffee in Canada. So, but yeah, no Ohio League for me.
And then my last question is, because I know we lost Mitch for a second, the speed of the PLL, I think a lot of rookies adjust to that like right away. Obviously, I think one of your pros is how fast you are. We just saw that goal that you had going goal line to goal line extended, how fast you were. But was that an adjustment at all, or was playing in the NFL with the speed and athleticism that's there, did that help you and to adjust to the speed? Was it something that you've noticed, or what was the biggest thing coming into the PLL?
I mean, I think it definitely helps. I think it's, mentally you're like, obviously in the NFL, you're playing at the top of the top, the elite guys. But, I mean, I think there's an adjustment still. I mean, if you watch the PLL guys, I mean, they're amazing athletes. They're super skilled, just like anything. You say you haven't worked out in 3 months and you go work out, you're going to be super sore regardless. So you're going back to, playing lacrosse, especially at that level, hey, you're going to have to, adapt and adjust to it somewhat, in my mind. But and that's just a credit to, obviously, the league and all the guys that are playing, just, how skilled and good they are.
Jared, when you were with the Falcons, I'm curious, did the team treat you like just a regular undrafted free agent? Did they have any idea they were sharing the field with college lacrosse stardom, one of the best of all time? I'm curious if you had any teammates, any coaches who would talk to you about lacrosse.
They kind of knew, just like I said, I kind of just go and handle my business. But I think, they knew about the lacrosse stuff. I wouldn't say we were sitting there talking, drawing up X's and O's and all that, but they definitely knew, I played in college and whatnot.
And you're also, as a guy who's been on an NFL roster, you've now been on a PLL roster. A lot of people would probably name you if asked who's the most athletic player you ever shared a field with. So I'm curious, who's the most athletic player Jared Bernhardt has shared a field with, any sport?
Any sport? Oh, man. I mean, I'm going to give, wide receiver room, Atlanta. I would say Drake London. You could probably go pull up some of his basketball highlights. He's got some good stuff there. I would say him. He's a beast for sure. So I'll give him some love.
Yeah, so now Mitch is going to draft him with the first overall pick in fantasy football. He's going to be like, I learned a wide receiver. Let me draft him 1-1.
Yeah, I would go for that. Yeah.
Jared, who was the best corner or safety secondary guy that you faced? Obviously played receiver when you were with the Falcons. Who would you say was the best secondary corner guy that you had to kind of go against?
Atlanta, we had AJ Terrell, so he was pretty good. We did a joint practice with the Jets. Sauce Gardner. I wouldn't say he was covering me, but he's obviously a pretty talented player. So I would say I'll say those two guys. I wouldn't.
You had that viral clip though,
some
didn't you? Where you
people in the
caught that
background,
ball? Or was that Sauce Gardner? That viral clip?
He tried to just come over. It was there's certain plays where you can tap your helmet, and it was a corner out, and it changed it to a seam based on the coverage, and we tapped it, changed it to a seam, and he tried to just come over and make the play. People were like, it wasn't like I one-on-one man, diced him up type of thing. But I said I was fortunate enough to be able to come down with it.
I had another question that I wanted to ask. Jared, can you clear up the timeline a little bit for us? Because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, did your Tewaaraton season almost not happen? Weren't you supposed to transfer to Ferris State the fall of 2020, and then what happened?
Yeah, so we had our 2020 season. I think we were actually supposed to play Virginia next. I think we had played 3 or 4 games maybe. We're out at practice, and we got the news, which was pretty tough, just obviously being my last year and not really sure what was going to, happen next. Honestly, at that moment, I thought I was kind of, done playing. because I'd already committed to go to Ferris State. And you got to get out there and do, summer workouts. And so yeah, that all happened. I went up to Big Rapids, Michigan, had some summer workouts, went back home. We got the news that the season was going to be canceled for football as well. So now I'm kind of like, talking to Coach Tillman, seeing what's the possibility of going back and finishing, my final season at Maryland. I took off the fall, pretty much was just home in Orlando, training, and then, I went back in the spring, the springtime, for the season, and that ended up being my final season.
That's crazy. Like, you must have thought, like, your lacrosse door was closed, and then you win the Tewaaraton. You go back and you win the Tewaaraton, and all of a sudden, and then you're able to go back and play football again. But then, like, I don't know if this opportunity with the Outlaws would have presented itself in the same way without you winning that Tewaaraton in 2021. So it's kind of amazing that that door remained open for you. Yeah,
it was, like I said, I think just, right where I was right where it was all, everything happens for a reason. And, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So, definitely, wouldn't change it.
I love that. I'm going to ask you one really quick. I mean, obviously there's a lot of talk about the 4 Tewaaraton winners on your roster. I mean, it's probably a little bit nauseating for you to hear at this point. I feel like every single time that the Outlaws get mentioned, the broadcast is talking about it. We're talking about it. TLN's talking about it. So, and there's a lot of like how you mix and match you guys. So I want to know what's one thing that makes like Brendan O'Neill, Pat Kav, like what are they like behind the scenes? What are they like welcoming the 4th Tewaaraton onto the roster? Because Logan obviously knows you.
Yeah, no, he's my roommate. So he was my roommate my final year. We roomed together, and now we're back to roommates. He's like, oh shit, this guy's back. No, but the other guys, I think just again, which reason I was like, hey, this is a good fit. They're low key guys. Like they're humble dudes. Love lacrosse, love the game. They want to win. I think that's, just a few things just saying, about them, which is, again, just, me. Like I said, I'm pretty reserved, dude. I want to go out there. I want to, compete just like they do, and I want to win. So, I mean, I would say, like I said, they've all been great, like super welcoming, a couple weeks ago when I joined the team.
Yeah, I think it's so cool to see like the 4 of you guys all super competitive, but in it's like unique way. Like Pat Kav will like be like jumping up and down and be trying to fight Ben Ware, and we saw like last week with you. You made the switch to attack for a little bit, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's back in his natural position." But where do you feel most comfortable right now coming back to the game, or do you just feel comfortable on the lacrosse field in general?
I don't know if I say feel comfortable. I'm still, like I said, I was playing football, and if you watch the Canadian game, it's a little different. I was doing that like 5-6 weeks ago, but
you're still not comfortable.
I mean, I'm still, you want to. It's tough, you're not. I was at Maryland, so I would help with the goalies and do some stuff. But I wasn't like out like training, like doing, on my own. Some guys would ask to do some one-on-ones. I was there trying to help, but nothing like where I'm going out and doing my own like routine regimen. Like I was just working out, like still doing football stuff, like not specifically lacrosse. But so yeah, I mean, as I said, the more reps you do, like for me, I said just accumulating reps, getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, just like I mean, I said I'll do whatever the team needs. Really, like I said I'm fortunate enough just to go out there and just get to play. Be able to compete and show up, on the weekends to go and do that. So, I'm just fortunate enough to do that.
Not comfortable in scoring 5 points. I mean, I'm scared for when you do get comfortable next season. And
I wouldn't say I'm not like that. But,
I know.
It's just, it's like, I said, it's you're also surrounded by a lot of good players too. That helps. They take a lot of eyes away. So, one week it's gonna, might be another guy. So it's which is the beauty of the game.
We heard a rumor. I want to say week 1 in Albany. I forget. Maybe it was Asher I forget who exactly was the intel. I won't give up my sources. Is it true that you scored 6 goals in the Maryland alumni game last year?
I don't know if it was 6, to be honest, but probably, yeah, it was like maybe 4, maybe. I don't even know. Half the time I'm just, like I said, I'm just going out there competing, like just playing, like, we were having probably, a few beers in the locker room type of thing, but I don't even think
the guys know you have it.
won.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was well, the guys kept, like, half the guys come, I'm like, do you even want to play? Or, like, I feel like I'm, like, the one getting all the runs. Like, I know it's an alumni game, but I'm like, you're dressed up. You can take a few runs here. So it was probably, that, because either I was going out there all the time, so I had to, someone's got to take the shots, I say some of the other guys that were working in finance, or I can't imagine they were, working out too much or running a lot. So I get that. But yeah, I think I was pretty sore after that game too. I was like, geez, this is a lot for an alumni game.
Now, Hoagie played at Ohio State. Hoagie, I know you're obsessed. Hoagie, for an Ohio State guy who's like a Big Ten rival, is obsessed with Tillman and is obsessed with Maryland's dominance. So, Hoagie, I need you
Tell Chris Myers that.
No, I would say no. I mean, for me, I would say as playing at Ohio State, same with Mitch. Obviously, played Maryland every year. Like, I respect what Tillman's built there and the consistency year after year to like get to the Final Four and get to championship games, even when it might not be the best teams year on year out. I feel like Tillman always gets the best out of the team. So, kind of walk us through like John Tillman. Like, why does he produce so many good players? Why does the team every single year, whether, we've talked about it a lot, whether they have the most talented team. Like, I thought that 2022 team was one of the best Maryland teams ever. And then there's other years like the 23 team that a lot of people said shouldn't have even made the tournament or lost first round, and they go all the way to the championship. Like, how does Tillman do this year after year, regardless of the talent he has?
Eat, breathe, sleeps lacrosse. Like, that's pretty much it.
iPad.
The dude's
iPad.
iPad. I mean, the dude. Again, I know people joke about it and stuff, and like I said, it's funny, but the dude is whatever it takes to win. Talking about, like, it's not a mystery why he'll go down as one of the great coaches. Like, he puts in the effort, he puts in the time, always trying to get better, get the team better, whatever it is. Like you said, maybe there's certain teams that people may think are not as well. Like, it's just, he's gonna come in and figure it out, whatever it takes.
What's one message that you think resonates with all the former Terps? Because it's not just Tillman's current teams that he takes a championship weekend. If you look around the PLL, Maryland produces the most pros, most draft picks almost every year, most players in the top 50. So what is it about a time at Maryland that resonates with so many players and makes them such good pros?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, even when I was a young guy and why I went to Maryland, my brothers went there, but just the guys, the people that are there. Obviously, there's a lot of good, talented lacrosse players, but just really good people. And it stems down from, like, the older guys, just the culture that's built. It kind of keeps going down, and it just, like I said, each year now the new guys coming up, they learn. They figure out, hey, this is what it takes. This is what you have to do, to be great. And then they're the older guys, and then the new guys come in. And again, the new guys, they don't know, and then they learn, and then it just keeps trickling down. And like I said, Coach Tills has obviously done a great job, and then getting guys to come in to buy in, to that stuff. So I would say obviously attest to Coach Tills, but the guys that that played before me, and give them the credit to keep passing that down.
I want to ask one more question about another former Terp in Logan McNaney, who you mentioned is your roommate. There was this great mic'd up clip from your first game. I don't know if you saw it, where Logan was on the sideline still working the iPad because he wasn't starting yet, and you're like, I shouldn't have shot that, have I? I was just curious, like, what your relationship is like with Logan. I know you said roommates.
No, Wisnauskas is my roommate.
Oh, Wisnauskas is your roommate. My bad.
I was like, let's keep this going.
I wouldn't let Logan be my roommate.
Wait, why not? Okay, I misheard that earlier. Sorry.
No, I'm joking. He's harmless. He just, like I said, they're both quiet, so they wouldn't bother me. So no, yeah, Wisnauskas is my roommate.
Got you. Well, what's Logan like then? Like,
Logan,
and what has he brought to the team as a rookie?
Again, everybody just. I think that's the beauty of the game. Like, you have all these different people coming in from different places, different schools. Like, there's going to be guys that don't shut up. They just talk all the time. There's going to be guys that, are more reserved, quiet, have a regimen or, more routine. Like, and you're coming in to build a team. Logan, McNaney he's cool, calm, and collected. He does his thing. Like I said, I'm like, you just save the ball. Whatever you got to do. I don't care what it is. So, but he's low maintenance guy. But love him. He's like I said, when I think he was maybe a freshman when it was my last year, I think. So, and you could see how you knew how good he was just from the moment when he was there. I'm like, this guy's gonna be, he's gonna be amazing. So, and he's just obviously an awesome guy. And super pumped to be able to play with him again.
That must have been a strange.
I should have known Wisnauskas. Being roommates with the goalie is crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Logan having that iPad for the first 2 weeks must have been an adjustment for him too. He probably hasn't held one of those since maybe ever.
He was probably getting PTSD from back in Maryland a little bit. Flashbacks.
iPad wasn't invented last time he was on a sideline.
Yeah, that's
True.
true.
I guess.
Yeah. You got some fun ones.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, Jared, I was just curious. Obviously, Maryland, again, I played at Ohio State and Mitch did too. That was always one of my favorite venues to play at. Obviously, Homewood is iconic for anyone, and especially you guys with the rivalry. So kind of what was your favorite, besides Maryland and besides the Falcons, what would you say was your favorite NFL venue that you played at, and then also your favorite college venue that you played at?
I'll do college first. I love Navy Stadium. That's always a cool one. Where else? Gillette's pretty cool. I honestly wish in 21 we ended up at Hartford. I'm like, I wish they honestly, I don't know why they don't do it, but there's probably again, I'm not sure. M&T Bank, I feel like they bring it back there. It would be super cool. Philly's pretty cool. But I would say I always love playing at Navy. I would say that's a top one.
And what's one college venue you didn't get to play at that you wish you got to play at? Is there anything that
I didn't play up in the Dome? When I was I was helping out on the staff. I was up there, so that was cool. They get a good crowd. People are talking shit the whole time, and it's just hammered, and it was pretty cool. But so maybe playing up in the Dome, that would have been cool. Or maybe Charlottesville. Never played there. And then NFL, Seattle. Seattle was pretty cool. Yeah, Seattle was. I would say just before I even play, just hearing about the stadium, just being one of the louder stadiums and whatnot. So that was pretty cool to be in there.
Speaking of loud stadiums, I was rewatching the clip of you catching the game-winning touchdown in the preseason.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked at the crowd pop. I'm wondering if that was the loudest crowd pop you've ever heard for a play that you've made.
Honestly, when you're playing, you don't even really notice it too much. Like I said, you got a lot of other things to focus on. But that was, like I said, Detroit being at Ferris and stuff. So that was a cool to be in at Ford. To obviously go through that experience. Again, it was preseason, but we played up at Jet in the MetLife. That was cool. My family's from Long Island, so. Playing against, doing the Jets thing and being able to go in there, I'd say that was a pretty cool venue.
We'll claim him as Long Island, by the way. That's just one more for Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
I do have one. This is my last one, and I think it's just more about Maryland as a program, and it's just curiosity. You've been around the program, obviously, for a long time. You were director of player operations, right? Most recently there.
Yeah.
And
player development.
That's why
yes.
they make so many good pros.
That
makes sense.
Working around that.
I can't give all the secrets away.
Right. Maryland obviously is in the championship game every single year. I think that their rivalries extend outside of the Big Ten. Who would you consider, since you stepped on campus in 2017, who would you consider Maryland's biggest rival? And don't say Hopkins, but someone else besides the Hopkins.
Rival. Honestly, I'm not even saying it because you guys are. I mean, I don't say rival, but Ohio State. 17. We kind of had. We had.
True.
I don't know. There was some like riffraff with that whole thing. I don't know. I mean, Notre Dame. I'm trying to think. I don't know. You guys, is there
That's what I
somebody
was
that you're
thinking.
leaning towards? I don't know. Virginia. Like you go back to ACC days. You got Carolina. We stopped playing them after my sophomore year. So like that, there's that's I would say that for a little bit. I would say certain eras, like you're talking to some guys back in the day, they would say a Carolina or like a Virginia or something. But I think now we transition with the Big Ten. You could probably I would say there's more like stuff within that. I mean, you hear about this people, they don't like this person, these coaches, this coach,
Right.
But I would say maybe Notre Dame, maybe. I mean, maybe a Virginia.
That's what I was gonna say was Notre
yeah.
Dame. The game in Atlanta this year like really felt like a conference game.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's been boiling to
good.
that.
Yeah, no. Maybe them, I would say. Obviously, Hopkins is the easy go to.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I asked you, I was like, wait, shit, I can't let him
There
answer
was a
that
ton
one.
of
yeah.
I'm looking back on those Ohio State Maryland. Was that your freshman year, Jared? When 17? Was that your freshman year?
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, what's going on here?
There
Like,
was a ton of great games.
Yeah.
Like the one in the
Yeah.
shoe, Johnny
We played 'em
Pearson, when
3
you guys
times.
lost in overtime. Ohio State won that one in the regular
Yeah.
season. Then you guys won in Columbus, the Big Ten championship
Yep.
game, and then obviously won the national championship in the end. But
Yeah,
those
we
were
played
great
'em,
battles. And then I'm
yeah.
even thinking the year after, Ohio State was unranked. Maryland was number 1 in the country. Ohio
Yeah.
State came into Maryland and won that game. So a ton
Don't
of great
remind me.
battles
Yeah.
of those two.
All right, Jared, I lied. This is it because I forgot 2017. You're talking about
Yeah.
the senior leadership boiling down to the freshmen. You're a freshman. Matt Rambo, 𝐓𝐇𝐄 𝐋𝐂𝐑𝐿 are seniors. They've been on this show about like 4 times now. What's your favorite
Crazy.
Rambo story at Maryland?
Favorite Rambo story? I can't. I don't think I can tell you that. Oh man, I don't even know if I have one. I mean, he's just those. I would just say those 2 guys are, them in that class. Like just coming in and being a freshman. I'll just say I'm kind of gonna pivot here, not to avoid. I
Right.
can't. There's no stories I can tell.
The kids can't
We
hear
get the
those
point.
stories.
PG, yeah.
They're
I
not
mean-
PG enough.
Doesn't make him a bad guy or anything, but I would just say that class, like they had a big impact on me. Just like I said, they were, you're in college, you're social, you're having fun off the field. But when those dudes stepped on the field, like it's go time, that mentality, like they literally like, they're going to, they're out there to kill people. Obviously not really, but, which again, for me being a freshman, like, and they take you under your wing. And like I said, you learn, their mentality, how they're going to do things. And obviously you see the fun loving side, of them off the field, especially together. They're probably, dumb and dumber, but, like I said, those guys in that class had a huge impact on me. And I've been super appreciative of that. And, I've taken that, when I, obviously got older at Maryland and try to pass down, things that they taught me and just, how to operate and be a Terp.
Jared, you might be the only lacrosse player that I'm thinking of. I don't think I can think of anyone else who won a national championship in lacrosse and then in football as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you compare, like, what were those 2 national championships like winning one in football versus winning them in lacrosse? Like, how would you compare, like, the journey and the ride and the whole thing?
Yeah, we don't argue about it, but my buddy Anthony DeMeo, he's the only guy I think that has 2 championships. They're both lacrosse, but so he always likes to like rub that in, and I'm like, all right, like we can calm down over here because he came in a little bit later in the 17 season, but he likes to rub that in. But no, it was I think the 21 was disappointing. At the end, you couldn't, you get all the way to that point and you don't really, you don't come out on top. So that was tough. And I think I was just super fortunate in the position going into Ferris State. They had a great team before I got there. I say that, anybody that asked me. So I believe that they would have won regardless. So I know people are like, oh, you went there and they won. I'm like, they were already very good. But they hadn't won. They'd gotten there. lost to Del Valdosta. They lost to West Florida in the Final Four. And similar to Maryland, like those, you could tell how much those guys wanted it when you got there. Like I was there for a very short time, but like it was eat, breathe, sleep football. And that was they had guys that like were like 6-7 year guys that were like maybe already going to work, and they came back to finish the job. So being able to get that, it definitely helps a little bit after losing 21, but, or they're both in the same year, but losing lacrosse, to Virginia. But, I don't know, I definitely wish we could have pulled that one out, for all the other guys and got a championship, at Maryland to kind of send it off right.
Well, Jared,
the next year.
Yeah. Jared, thanks so much. We don't want to keep you any longer. Really appreciate you hopping on. You guys got anything else?
No, I appreciate you hopping on, Jared. Maybe we'll get you on at the end of the year. We'll do our live shows down at the semifinals and the championship. We'll get you on after a PLL championship with the Outlaws. We'll pop you in the chair live.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. I know I do. Actually, it's a funny thing. I did look at a clip back then. I know you guys. It was I don't know why I came across it, but it was you guys were talking about if I came back, if I would be able to play again and how I'd do. So I'm always peeping at some of that stuff.
I remember the clip.
So watch
That's
out.
awesome.
You know what I'm talking about.
For him to come back to the sport, I see like why not? Do you think he still has what it takes?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those like generational athletes. You don't think
that face?
Yo,
Hoagie.
wait.
I know that face, Hoagie.
I agree. I think he can play. I don't think he's gonna play.
I don't think he's going.
Nobody knows. I don't know his situation, but I think he could play.
He can definitely play. I don't know if he'll be the same player that he was, as dominant as he was at like Maryland, just being out of the sport for a while. And there's so many good players in the league, but I think he could be a guy come out of the box as an offensive midfielder.
Yeah.
So,
and that's awesome because we had TJ Malone on last week as our interviewer, and he had never
awesome.
seen the show and never heard of the show, had no idea.
Oh, really? Yeah, no. No. Jeez, TJ, that's at least he could have faked it till he made it.
Well, that was also the funny part about the Asher clip is like we're like trying to do like the podcasting thing where we're like, oh, like can Jared Burton, like how effective will he be in the PLL? And Asher just was like, dude, he scored 6 in the alumni game, and immediately all of us were like, oh wow.
No, I'm just giving you guys a hard time.
You should.
I don't know why I came across it. I mean, I know, Mitch knows, Danny Maltz, so I'm familiar, obviously, with you guys and know what you guys do. So, like I said, I'm not trying to do a little bit more social media. I don't do a ton, but like I said, I have the stuff. So I see your guys' clips and whatnot. I see you guys pick each week too. So,
you guys won last week.
you can please keep picking the other team. That always
Jared, you
helps.
need to keep the kids away. I don't know, Doogs, you want to explain to him the kids card?
Dude, you don't want the kids on your side. That's all I'll say. You'll know.
Kids?
You know. You know. The kids in the pick'em, you don't want them on your side.
The kids pick you on the pick'em. You always lose. I think the kids are 12-3 this year on the pick'em.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't want that for sure. definitely avoid. Maybe I'll come off and be an asshole or something, so you guys don't like me and you'll pick against me.
Keep the kids off the Outlaws.
Well, you can always talk shit to us. Tell your teammates. So if we talk shit, we expect people to talk shit to us.
I get you.
Yeah. Thanks for hopping on there.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having
Jared.
me. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to the Lacrosse Show without Mitchell Pehlke. Mitchell Pehlke is dead. No, I'm kidding. He's not dead. He just has an event. But we are here with some big news. Hoagie, you want to hop in and tell us what's going on?
Yeah, we got some massive news for both the PLL and the WLL. The PLL and WLL have now signed a 5-year deal with ESPN that includes the ESPN joining as an investor in the league. So that shows you ESPN's not only the home for lacrosse, for college lacrosse, PLL, WLL. Lacrosse is through ESPN. ESPN's a committed partner now moving forward to grow this league into the league that we know it can be and the league that we know it's going to be. So up and up. We've been saying all year long, trajectory is up for the league. Another massive one in the clip there to show how big we're growing it.
Hold on, I got one more thing coming. Kev, what else is going on over there with ESPN?
Well, it's pretty interesting. I think this is the longest deal that in terms of media rights. So the first one, if you remember, was with NBC for the first 3 years. Then they had ESPN for the past 4 years. Now we get a 5-year deal. That tells me that ESPN is committed. And I got some quotes right here from Paul Rabel. It says, this partnership marks a historic moment for the PLL and WLL. ESPN's renewed commitment, along with their investment, speaks volumes about the future of lacrosse. So I think everyone's pumped about this. I know, in my perspective, the broadcast took a big leap when they went from NBC to ESPN. And I think even this year we've seen some new stuff. Like they were doing that broadcast like breakdown camera with Rob Pinnell and others. I thought that was fun. Like ESPN has done a lot of cool stuff with the telestrator. I think they call it something different now, the Piero or something. But Ryan Boyle is the master of it. Just the crew that they've had, Quint, Clark, Boyle, the cast of play-by-play guys.
So many great guys.
Drew Carter. We should do a start bench cut.
Jay Alter. So many great guys over the years.
So I'm pumped for the sport of lacrosse in general. It's just a huge win. PLL, college, NLL, all win, having lacrosse on a singular network.
Yeah, and
dude, isn't that great? You don't have to have Flow Sports to watch the PLL.
100%. And ESPN's 100%. Been great in so many fronts, too. I mean, for me, even when I can't make it out to a PLL weekend, watching the game each week, from the score bug to the analytics that they show to the camera angles that they have to the announcing to everything, top notch. And then to me, my favorite thing about ESPN from this year, the new thing is ESPN Saturday Night Lacrosse has been 10 out of 10 amazing. Yeah. It's been awesome, from the graphics on the field to the way that the league is making it special to feel like, all right, this is Saturday Night Lacrosse, kind of like the NFL where it's like Sunday Night Football. Like, this is big. So ESPN being a pivotal partner there and continuing to grow our game is awesome. One of my favorite things I saw this weekend was during the Archers Outlaws game on ABC, that cool animation. I don't know if you guys saw it, of them explaining the rules on like the live subbing and how many players. Like, that was so sick, even for me who's played this game since I was in 3rd grade and I think I know a lot more about lacrosse than a lot of people do. So that was still cool for me to even see that stuff, just making it for the viewer who's never seen the game of lacrosse. If I'm just, I'm making it up. My grandpa sitting sitting his lazy boy watching lacrosse for the first time, like making it easy for them to understand and see how this game is, see how great our game is. I mean, ESPN's been a great partner. The league, the WLL, PLL, just continuing to shatter ceilings each year, and this is just another step in the direction of where we know the league's going to go one day. So I couldn't be more excited for this partnership.
WLL being included in this is also like a great sign for the future. Just very short, like just long term as well. Just them being included in this, what that means, I don't really know. I'm sure that we'll find out eventually in the future. But yeah, I mean, PLL wise, and then ESPN is an investor as well?
Yes.
Investor.
Yes, joining as an investor. So it's not just a media rights deal. I think we'll learn more about that, what that means, like as the ESPN investing. But to me, that tells me the PLL is not going anywhere for at least 5 years and probably going to do pretty well for the next 5 years. So, yeah,
I don't know. That's weird because I just noticed that, I think it was last year, Baseball Tonight's studio got, closed down,
PLL
destroyed.
Saturday Night Lacrosse studio right there.
I see 3 handsome-looking guys. Let's have the lacrosse show without Mitchell Pehlke.
I was going to say,
Baseball Tonight.
I was going to say, Kev, you've already been in that seat for draft day. You think we can get the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show live in Bristol next year for draft day?
I was going to say,
filming a live show. Come on,
with this new deal, I need to see the details of this new deal. What portion of the pie are we carving out for podcasters?
Yeah, come on.
I'm going to put on my Billy football and I'm going to start entertaining clients.
Jared Bernhardt, mainstay in the league. Potentially going to hoist the trophy MVP, we hope, in a couple years. But now let's go into Q3 Start Bench Cut, your guys' favorite segment. This week we're doing top rookie attackmen. I think before we hop into the 3 that I'm going to mention, our current rookie of the years. I'm pretty sure, Kev, you have. I had Andrew McAdory. Kev, who did you have?
Jackson Eicher.
Hoagie?
Chris Kav.
Doogs?
Andrew McAdory.
How do we feel about our picks, Doogs, right now?
I feel great.
I feel awesome. I think that Andrew McAdory probably is the rookie of the year at the current.
No, I think Chris Kav is.
Interesting.
Well,
I
think Andrew McAdory.
I think Chris is going to get it. If we started today, I think Chris might get it. I mean, maybe there might be some recency bias with Aiden Carroll if he keeps staying hot. Eicher was great all year, but I think when you're on a bad team,
I think a big weekend for Chris Kav is obviously going to be this next weekend. Homecoming weekend. They're out west in California. I mean, that's your squad V, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But no, our start bench cut for this week is top rookie attackman. First one, Aiden Carroll. Second, Chris Cavanaugh. Third, Jackson Eicher. Start bench cut. Doogs, I want to hear from you first.
Well, I'm starting Chris Kavanagh.
Think so?
Because I've been saying it for freaking 7 months now. I can't believe the guy fell to the second round. He was always going to be a good pro in the PLL. He was built for the PLL. Love seeing him kill it after everyone in the spring somewhat doubting him, which was the craziest freaking talk of all time. I'm benching Aiden Carroll. Guy's a dog. Guy can play attack. He played midfield. I think he's just so versatile that it would be so tough for me to cut him. I'm going to cut Jackson 𝐓𝐄. Not because he's an Army guy, not because he didn't miss the tournament, not because he missed the tournament, not because he didn't make the Final Four. I just like Aiden Carroll's versatility a little bit more. And, yeah, that's kind of really the only thing that I like Aiden Carroll over 𝐓𝐄 for. I also think that 𝐓𝐓𝐄's whole thing I think that from what we've seen is he can throw it in from range. I think Aiden Carroll might be a better long-range scorer than he might be.
I'd take 𝐓𝐓𝐄's shot over it. Aiden Carroll's definitely more dynamic. Should I jump in here, Pehlke? What do you
Get in there, Kev.
Okay. Kev. Yeah, keep it going, Kev.
All right. I am going to start Chris Kavanagh. Chris Kavanagh, to me, is probably the only one who's a number one on their team, or at least a number one initiator. I know Dylan Malloy has more points, but I'm going to give Chris Kavanagh, all the lights are on him, all the attention's on him. He's balling out. The Redwoods are good. I'm going to give him the number one. Number two, or start. Bench, I'm going to bench Jackson 𝐓𝐄. Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄 has the range. He's my pick for Rookie of the Year. He's also balling out for a team that's bad. He's leading his team in points. That's worth something. Aiden Carroll, I'm going to give him the cut only because he's only recently been in the attack lineup. So his trajectory is high, but we've still only really seen one full game of him at attack against the Chaos. He's the number 3 guy in that unit, so I think he's probably got a more favorable matchup than either Chris Kavanagh or Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄 in any given game. So that's my order. I'm going to start Chris Kavanagh, bench Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄, and I'm going to cut Aiden Carroll, even though I really like Aiden Carroll's trajectory moving forward.
Yeah, I'm starting my Rookie of the Year pick from preseason, Chris Kavanagh. He's the easy start here for me for Rookie of the Year. I mean, look, he's been unbelievable for them. He's been probably their main guy. He's been their star, and, he's made, highlight reel plays, but he's also just been super consistent, led the team in points, led the team in goals, I think, before the bye week. Obviously, now they're a game behind. They haven't played, but Chris Kav's been unbelievable. Obviously, that whole rookie class, we've touched on it a bunch, but Chris Kav's a start. I'm going to bench Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄. Kind of like Kev said, it sucks he's on a bad team and he's on the worst team in the league, but he leads their team in points. And Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄, from week 1 at Albany, from that first quarter on, he's been, one of the best players on the field for that team. He's been a stud and he's stepped up. And I'm going to cut Aiden Carroll, and it's more just I'm not going to buy into the recency bias yet with Aiden Carroll. I got to see it a little more. He just moved to attack. He obviously had his coming out party this weekend at their homecoming at Homewood Field, but I want to see it, more down the line as he gets more comfortable in attack. We can reevaluate it, but at the current moment, starting Chris, benching 𝐓𝐓𝐄, cutting Carroll.
I mean, I don't think it's any surprise here. I'm starting Chris, obviously, with what he's done in the games, and I do think, as mentioned, this next weekend is going to be big for him, and I feel like a big staple of this year. If he wants to win Rookie of the Year, it's going to be what he does homecoming week, and I think, obviously, that's going to show this weekend. I am benching Aiden Carroll. I'm kind of the same with Doogs and, Doogs, not Kev. The versatility aspect with Aiden Carroll is huge. I feel like from Jackson 𝐓𝐓𝐄, obviously being my cut, can put the ball in the back of the net from deep. But also I feel like being on a team that is the Chaos doesn't obviously help your stock as well. So that's my start bench cut. And to end this beautiful episode, we have been recently ending with a ball knower of the week. And for the Young Bucks, we've been having these old questions that doesn't really make sense. So we've got a younger one for the younger audience out there. And let's give it to us. Give it to us live, producer Corey. Ball knower of the week
Kev,
is
are
trivia.
you 2-0?
They have one question.
Yeah, I'm 2-0. What do you mean doesn't really make sense?
Kev's 2-0, Mitch. Kev's got the crown on.
Mitch,
Yeah, well, I'm
what
taking
the
it down.
first
Producer Corey, let's
STX
go.
is? You know what the first STX had from 1985
STX
is? Yeah, because sponsored
Kev's
product.
still
and
going to
he
get
fucking
this one, though.
screws
Kev's still
Kev.
going to get this
Now,
one.
let's
You can't
go.
trick him.
I'll give you
I'm
guys
up
a
in
head
a
start.
delay, so you got to let me know.
All right, ball knower of the week. Here's the question. The PLL is going to San Diego this week. With that being said, what are the 2 previous teams in the MLL located in California?
Hoagie knows
The
this.
San Francisco Dragons, the California Dragons or whatever, the Dragons and the...
You got this, Hoagie.
Yeah.
The Dragons
Go
are
ahead, Hoagie.
one. I know that.
Okay, finish it off.
Yeah.
So,
LA
Sharks?
Riptide.
The San Jose Swarm.
Yeah.
Sharks, Dragons,
Seattle
No, we got
the Seattle Supersonics.
Dragons, San Francisco Dragons.
It was the San
Dragons
Diego
won.
Squids.
It wasn't the
Kev.
Riptide? LA Riptide.
what-
LA Riptide.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Bingo.
All right.
I only
we'll
watch
split
it-
that
I only
one.
watch the
Kev,
PLL.
Kev, high five, Kev. We'll split that one.
Oh,
yeah.
you're that way? Which way are you?
I'll take half the point. There we go, Kev. There we go. Mitch, you see the Twins got the ball knowledge there on the old MLL days in Cali.
Dude,
Come
we
on.
have to hop on a call and connect.
Dude, I got
Ooh,
half of it last week.
Doesn't count.
I don't even remember.
Want to be great in life, you got to get the
Also,
full
I just
point.
want I before we end the show, I just want to give Andrew McAdoy some props because he is top 3 midfielder in points.
Yeah, we're going. That was rookie attack, man.
Yeah.
I know.
Please
We're
listen.
saying leading. Yeah.
Yeah. It was too hard to do all rookies because we could have had so many rookies in there. We had to bottle it down to somewhat of a attack.
We talked about this during the pre-production meeting when you were trying to escape another country.
That was insane.
Mitch took Kai the goalie.
And then we're
Deuce
going to
took
end
Kai
on
the
that,
goalie
baby.
hostage.
We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.